Our Place. First held in 2017, this April Fool's Day Reddit event allowed every user to place one pixel on a 1000 by 1000 canvas every 5 minutes. Alone, a user could not do much, but together, groups could make sprawling works of beauty. Factions rose and fell, art was formed and destroyed, in one of the greatest tales of the internet. When Reddit brought back Our Place in 2022, 5 years later, communities both old and new rose to the challenge of making their mark on this snapshot of the internet. Hundreds of stories intertwining once again into the great tapestry of the web. This is the story of one of those factions, the Touhou Project community. It consists of fans of the indie bullet hell video game series called the Touhou Project. Created by Japanese developer Junya Ota, better known as Zune, the series features the antics of the shrine maiden Reimu Hakurei and the magician Marisa Kirisame, solving various incidents that happen in the magical eastern wonderland of Gensokyo. Touhou is well known for its characters, music, difficulty, influence on the internet, and ridiculous amount of fanworks. In 2017, our Touhou carved out a decently sized spot on the bottom left corner of the canvas, referencing 4 characters, several items, and the Touhou Hijack LOL meme, all under the name of our Touhou. The Touhou faction also had 2 other characters, Nitori Kawashiro and Raisin Udongen Inaba, built in other parts of the canvas. In 2022, the Touhou community once again returned to the pixel battlegrounds to fight their way into the canvas, or in their terminology, hijacking our place. Whether you be a Touhou fan or wander around the algorithm, please settle down and hear the chronicle of the Touhou Our Place Hijack Brigade of 2022. Let's begin. On the 1st of April at 6:04 AM Pacific Time, Reddit declared the opening of the canvas of Our Place 2022. Though other communities had been preparing since the initial announcement of the event 4 days prior, no significant preparation efforts had been made on our Touhou. In fact, it took about an hour and a half after the start of the event for the first Reddit post about Our Place to gain major traction on the subreddit. This post was made by a UVN gamer Chronicle, better known as Cherries. Some vague suggestions were made on this post, but no coordinated efforts were set forth. Meanwhile, our Touhou user Asalin, after discovering no Our Place efforts in our Beat Saber, stumbled upon Cherry's post in our Touhou and discussed contacting the moderators with him to obtain an official coordination endorsement. However, time was running short. The advance notice of the event had allowed many communities to mobilize much faster than they did in the original Our Place, and action was paramount, with or without the moderators. An hour after Cherry's Reddit post, Asalin created the Touhou Our Place Discord server. Despite only intending it to be a temporary discussion platform in lieu of an official Our Place server for the subreddit, our Touhou moderator Kadawang endorsed the server in the subreddit's Our Place megathreads minutes later. And so, the center of operations formed in Asalin's Touhou Our Place server, to the surprise of the founders themselves. Although the subreddit moderators had no significant influence on the brigade, the server still represented the subreddit. It is here that the community that became known as the Touhou Hijack Brigade formed. It should be noted that this name originated from after Our Place, however I will be referring to the group specifically within the Touhou Our Place server, because there were other groups building Touhou Our Place on the canvas outside the server as the Hijack Brigade, and members of that group as hijackers, in accordance with the terminology established after Our Place. Ironically, the Touhou Our Place server was not responsible for the first Touhou artwork on the canvas. That honor goes to the Chirino Embassy, a faction on the Our Place cone Pixels.space. The Chirino Embassy's chief goal is to build an artwork of the character Chirino, the Fairy of the Ice, in each monthly Pixels.space canvas, a mission that extended to Our Place 2022. After realizing that they might be voted out of the collaborative Pixels.space artwork, the Chirino Embassy decided to build on their own using a mini Chirino artwork by Kirai S, and convert it to the Our Place palette by 22. After ironically colliding with the Pixels.space collaboration, the Chirino ambassadors moved the mini Chirino to a location on the lower right of the giant logo of rhythm game Osu. Diplomat Tall Glass of Chirino was the 9th person to join the Touhou Our Place server and promoted the mini Chirino heavily. Mini Chirino went on to gain a cult following in the Hijack Brigade and essentially became adopted by the hijackers. Unlike the Chirino Embassy, the initial momentum of the brigade was minimal. Due to the preparation that many factions did prior to the event starting, a lot of space had already been taken, but there were 2 open spots that were considered. One was near our Hololive, a VTuber agency that has a decent community overlap with Touhou, and several of the VTubers are Touhou fans. The other option was near Osu, which does have quite a few popular Touhou maps. The decision was made to build near Osu due to less competition in the area and the fact that the coordinator and server owner Aslan was an Osu player. Nevertheless, the brigade still maintained diplomatic relations with Hololive. The first project was a simple banner reading R Touhou, designed by artist cynicalsix, thrown up so that the brigade could at least get a foothold on the canvas while they argued about what else to add. The banner was planted to the right of the Osu logo, signifying the Hijack brigade's entrance into the canvas. Communications were quickly established with neighbors. Our HTTYD, for the How to Train Your Dragon series, have been planning to build their Light Fury Laughter Toothless, where the Touhou banner now was. War was not an option due to the drag alliance with the massive faction that was Osu. But diplomat Multino was able to defuse the crisis as our HTTYD agreed to build the Light Fury elsewhere. Connections were formed with other neighbors such as Optivine, the Cell Lattice, and the separate Pixels.Space collaboration. The greatest alliance, however, was yet to come. The next step in creating artworks was obviously to build a character. Hijacker Chrocisph proposed building a pixel art of the main protagonist of Touhou, Reimu Hakurei, the Shrine Maiden of Paradise. Chrocisph suggested a Reimu artwork from a Minecraft build, a design that originated from a Hamafuse beach fight of Reimu by Belgian artist Michirisu. cynicalsix converted the Reimu to the art place palette, and the brigade sought to begin work. But first, a home for Reimu had to be found. Touhou is well known for being extremely prevalent and influential in the 2000s era of the internet, but there were many other titans who ruled at this time, and the hijackers were adjacent to the territory of one of them, an entity that goes by the name of Hatsune Miku. Hatsune Miku is a Vocaloid, most simply described as a voice synthesizer software. Each soundback is attached to a relevant character, so songs using such soundbacks often feature the related character. The antics of Miku and friends are well known and celebrated across the internet, but the one community that built this Miku was our Hatsune, a subreddit dedicated to, well, Hatsune Miku. Though the denizens were of course fans of other Vocaloids. Their Miku art, built about 4 hours into our place, was quite fresh on the canvas upon the planting of the R Touhou banner. Through Touhou diplomat Prince Eris, the hijackers asked our Hatsune on whether or not they could build Reimu next to Miku, a request that was granted. Once construction was finished, hijacker Wa proposed building a heart between the two characters, cementing the alliance between our Touhou and our Hatsune forevermore. It was an obvious alliance given the similarity of the two characters in their respective media and internet culture, and it was the deepest one that both factions would have in 2022. The treaty was immortalized with an artwork by our Hatsune member, the Dragon Girl 27. The two servers donned magic icons using the art, a practice that continues to this day. The banner underwent several changes and additions. CBT and the Dance Dance Revolution eras were incorporated into the banner despite previous attempts by hijackers to build a power block item on top of them. CBT missed a minor invasion by our LSU, the subreddit the Louisiana State University on third day, and DGR was troubled as well due to various spillovers, but ultimately the two groups were protected until the end. This was the first sign of Touhou's general policy of forming alliances and incorporating other communities into its template as one big front against entropy. Time proved the strategy to be an effective and heartwarming one. But peace wasn't always the route taken. Above the R Touhou banner lay the territory of R Nanocurrency, a subreddit for the cryptocurrency Nano. Due to general anti-crypto sentiment, many hijackers began to clamor for war, despite some Nano members trying to negotiate. No quarter was given to crypto, and coordinator Liam declared war with the objective of replacing the Nano logo with a 9-ball, in reference to a meme involving Chirino. This declaration, however, was almost immediately withdrawn as people wished to focus on defending what they currently had, and the server officially shifted to a non-aggression policy with Nano, despite additional calls for war. Regardless of the lack of action, this did show that should the hijackers be given a good enough casus belli, they would be a force to be reckoned with, and not some rocks on the side of the street to be swept aside by irreverent forces. But that energy would be for later, and attention turned to building miscellaneous artworks. A 9-ball was built right at the banner, while Reimu was given her signature weapon, a Gohei. Much like the Chirino embassy, the Cell Lattice was also a faction born on Pixels.Space, with the goal of building, well, a lattice of cells. Negotiations were begun to build cells based on the third eyes of the Komeiji sisters, Satori Komeiji and Koishi Komeiji. A pink cell was built, ostensibly as Satori's third eye, though pink cells are not foreign to the lattice. Likewise, a coincidentally blue cell was built next to the blue 9-ball. The cells were eventually moved to the top left corner of Osu, and though they were pink, it was the match with the Osu logo and not with Satori. The alliance was a fairly minor one, but much appreciated by the Cell Lattice during the first hours when they were seeking spaces to squeeze in. From the shadows came the works of a mysterious figure named Yukari Yakumo, an individual whom we will meet later. Many in the brigade wished to build her signature gaps, a kind of portal. The hijackers first tried to do this as a collaboration, asking our 2007 Escape and our Place DE, with both requests denied. The Gap supporters, however, never stopped their efforts. The banner did gain one final update. Since the P-block was too large to fit in the remaining space, it was decided to build a yin-yang orb, a common symbol for the Touhou series left of the R Touhou text. And so, the finishing touches were made on the Touhou home base. With space dwindling, it seemed that this would be the only corner that Touhou fans could secure. Unless, of course, they went to war. With a character list in the hundreds and fans willing to defend their best girls to the death, there was obviously a lot of debate in the beginning as to what characters should be built on the canvas. Reimu as the main protagonist was an obvious choice. Chirino is likewise very well known and was also built by a third party dedicated to her. However, a third character had gained popular support, Yomu Konpaku, the half-human, half-phantom gardener. Yomu had won the annual popularity poll in September 2021, despite a whole voter fraud drama, but that's another story. So she was an objective choice for who to build next, as she was statistically the most popular character at the time. The only question was, where should she be built? Hours later, our Touhou found the answer: communism. With approval from the dominant R2007 Escape in the area, the Touhou hijackers proceeded with a plan to wipe the Soviet flag in the top left corner from the map and replace it with a sprite of Yomu, based on a Perler bead design by Upixel's Empire found in the subreddit, one inspired by the aforementioned Reimu bead design. The image was converted to the art place palette by hijacker Megafrog, and so Yomu led the hijackers into battle against the Red Menace.
That's true, Yomu swords can cut through anything, including communism.
After battling the communists for a while, not much progress had been made. Owing to the brigade's inefficiencies were primitive coordination methods, a simple pixel map with a coordinate at the bottom left corner, leading to disorganization. The communists were not giving up, and diplomat Megafrog was dispatched to the discovered communist Red Pixel server to see if the Reds knew who was attacking them. As it turns out, they did. Hijacker Idiot Like Chirno had leaked the invasion on the subreddit, with the communists capitalizing on the information accordingly. Idiot Like Chirno was promptly branded as a traitor and put on trial.
How does the jury find
guilty? Guilty. Guilty. Guilty.
The leaker was soon banished, but the damage was already done. As a result of all these internal problems, the effort was given up and the communists retook the territory. A second attempt at evading the communists featured an uncoordinated coalition of factions under R2007 Escape, including the Hijack Brigade, trying to wipe out the Hammer and Sickle. The plan was to ostensibly cover it with red and then build Yomu over it. However, this coalition was very uncoordinated, as each faction simply executed their own plans on the flag, with the only agreement being the destruction of the Soviets. Seeing that it was impossible to build Yomu in such contested conditions, the Hijack Brigade pulled out of the invasion. However, the quest to build Yomu did not stop there. In the meantime, the original Touhou outpost was experiencing some regional turbulence. Our April Knights had built about the banner, an activity that occasionally spilled into the neighboring Optifine and Nano factions, causing discomfort for the brigade. They'd end up not being much trouble. The Dance Dance Revolution faction was faced with potential destruction by independent users stepping away from official server coordination by building an empty spot between DDR and our Hatsune's Miku. In DDR diplomat Gatebox wording, DDR begged to build something in the empty spot. Consensus settled in both our Touhou and our Hatsune to build a leak, referencing the leak spin meme featuring Hatsune Miku. DDR was thus preserved. The heat turned up from the descent of our SpaceX place's starship from the north. As the rocket began tearing through everything in its path, panic began to break out in the brigade. Diplomat Megathrog was dispatched to beg for mercy, an action that proved unnecessary as SpaceX had been planning to stop the Touhou banner. But in a twist of fate, the rocket descended right into the old enemy of Nano, forcing the cryptocurrency group to relocate eastwards. Ever-insistent hijackers proposed the gap as a portal for the rocket, though like the previous two requests, this was denied because SpaceX wanted to build the base of the ship. In the chaos of the attempted invasion of the Soviets, there was a suggestion for the addition of Clown Piece, the Fairy of Hell, to the American flag for fairly obvious reasons. Megafrog had gone to the R American flag in place Discord server to make Touhou's plea, with a lack of popular support because of anime, and a veto from the president who led the server from a desire to focus on recuperation from a streamer attack. The proposal failed. But the more important part of this connection was ironically a stray piece of gossip caught by Megafrog.
Yeah. No. America and Britain, they're going to westward expand and hit each other in the middle, which means that Rainbow Road's going to be focused on them. So if we bank up some tiles, do you see just below American flag, there's a bit of Rainbow Road that's not going to hit. Yeah, they're going to go over that. That's enough space for us to basically drop a 32 by 32 sprite. We could do anyone.
Yeah,
like
let's
literally
let's
anyone.
do
We could drop it
American
right there, and we would
Guys,
basically be
guys.
completely uncontested because Rainbow
Yeah,
Road's
yeah.
going to be having to deal with them.
The salient of the road that in theory would be cut off by the anticipated trajectory of the American flag had enough space for a 32 by 32 pixel sized artwork. While Yomu was considered for that portion of the road, her sprite was a too small 16 by 16 pixels, so a new sprite would have to be made regardless of the character built. Hijacker Kappamari had repeatedly suggested a Kappa incursion to build artwork of Nidori Kawashiro, the business-minded and miserly Kappa. This proposal began gaining traction just in time for Hijacker Hyper Cecil 101's poll for the Rainbow Road character.
What's the poll look like?
It looks
What's the
like.
result?
Oh shit! Look who won!
Wait,
Let's-
who won? Who won?
Wait, who won?
It's
Who won?
Natori.
Oh, let's go.
Let's
Natori,
go. Yeah, I'm not
It's like-
kidding.
so close.
Natori won. Yes, Natori won. Yes.
Kappa, let's go!
Kappa. Oh my god. Kappa hype.
Hang on. Wait, hang on.
With the character decided, artist Boopy Loops created a Nidori sprite. Prior to what became known as the Nidori raid, building instructions were given through an image and the coordinate of a corner. This was rather inefficient due to requiring people to count out the pixel distance from the selected corner, contributing to the failure of the past Yomu project. But war is the driver of innovation, and a new revolutionary idea was suggested: the spreadsheet. With each cell on the spreadsheet representing 1 pixel, users could claim a pixel to place at the same time as everyone else, a method of shock and awe. The spreadsheet was eventually titled Touhou Hijack LOL, with Touhou being a text abbreviation for Touhou. Rainbow Road was not informed, although the idea was that Nidori could simply be painted on top of the road as a forced collaboration of sorts. The Americans began their manifest destiny as anticipated, overwhelming the Rainbow Road to the north of the designated spot. In the meantime, the brigade swiftly started to fill out the spreadsheet and assign names, working against the clock because of the rapid American strike and the construction of a Minecraft diamond pickaxe in the same region. At 2:30 AM UTC, it was hammer time.
10
Somebody
seconds.
better be recording
9,
this.
10 seconds?
8,
I'm recording.
7,
I'm recording.
6,
429.
5,
429.
3,
429.
1.
1.
Nice!
Let's go.
429. 438. Yes. Yes.
Place!
And now the outline begins. The outline begins.
The raid was met with roaring success. Using the new spreadsheet strategy, the coordinated brigade placed wave after wave of pixels, forming the kappa on the road as the rainbow-colored septentrion fell under the weight of the Star-Spangled Banner.
This is like US Marines with all the crayons.
Absolutely.
It was perhaps even more successful than anticipated, as Nidori's black border began to expand into a black background covering the road. This background was used for later artworks. Victory recedes in the first of what would be many outposts of the Hijack Brigade across the canvas was established. After the construction of Nidori, a suggestion from our Hatsune member IO for a collaboration made its way into Touhou's funky voice channel.
Everyone here,
Okay.
before you leave, I have a thing to tell you. In the
Go ahead.
Miku server, they're
I love you.
saying that they want to put a Kagame Rin with a little heart next to the Arnitori.
Absolutely.
I would
Oh,
love to help.
I would
Is it-
fucking love
is it
that.
fit,
That'd be
though?
beautiful.
The idea of adding Rin Kagamine, another Vocaloid, was quite well received, and Boopy Loops created Rin art that matched Nidori. The only caveat was that an invasion of their neighboring artworks was necessary. The first plan was to build Rin right after they finished Nidori, infringing on a creeper from Minecraft, Totoro from My Neighbor Totoro, and the logo of K-pop group Luna. This plan failed due to a lack of strength necessary to overpower the artworks, and Rin's location was moved to the left of Nidori, this time cutting into the pride flag column. While diplomat cynicalsix negotiated with the queer players, one of the coordinated pride flag groups, many of the flags on the canvas, including the pride flags, were decentralized, meaning that there were many builders who weren't in the pride flag server who would not get the memo in the collaboration. And so, facing stiff resistance, Rin could never fully form. Rin's construction was never realized, but the Hijack Brigade swore to one day avenge Rin's downfall and seal their pact with our Hatsune. Drunk on the spoils of war, plans began to be made for what was anticipated to be the biggest artwork by the brigade yet, a mural that was based on the first artwork done in 2017, appropriately called the 2017 art. After approving the artwork as a new goal, a vote was held to determine the characters to be added, and so, the new queens of Touhou were crowned. Koishi Komeiji, the imaginary personality holder, Sakia Izayoi, maid of the Scarlet Devil Mansion, Flandre Scarlet, the double of Scarlet Blood, and Marissad, a variant of Marissa Kurisame, the high-powered and star-loving ordinary magician based on a meme from a scene of the fan-made anime Fantasy Kaleidoscope, Memories of Phantasm. This decision had to lie dormant for a while though, as the canvas was too crowded and the Hijack Brigade too small to launch such a large construction project in the occupied territories. In the meantime, quite a few alliances were formed. Risk of Rain, a roguelike game famed for its soundtrack, Team Fortress 2, the legendary FPS, which has been noted to have an oddly large amount of community overlap with Touhou, Deltarune, Toei Fox's legendary RPG, and Foxhole, an MMO featuring two factions locked in a never-ending real-time war, which apparently has a large overlap with Touhou fans. Help would be provided to all of these more minor alliances as Touhou extended its diplomatic grasp across the canvas. The server officially went into the night shift, but expansions and renovations still occurred. The space surrounding Neatery had been filled with hearts as placeholders, including one large heart to Neatery's right. Hijacker Timur Vlaskov suggested replacing the giant heart with a P-block, which partially formed. However, this idea was overtaken by a proposal to build a still from Bad Apple, a famous black and white music video well known for its usage in the demo scene and infinite amount of remixes and parodies. Using a design by Hijacker The Golden Proof featuring one of the first frames with the Reimu and the apple, the Hijackers were very enthusiastic about construction. Unfortunately, this meant that the collaboration with our Hatsune would have to go somewhere else, but that could be resolved later. The Luna logo still stood in the way, so after discussions, the K-pop fans were willing to move their logo with Touhou's assistance to cover an unidentified note. The two factions remained cordial throughout the event. The old Luna logo was then consumed to create Bad Apple without incident. As the Void and the British flag invaded the Rainbow Road above, Hijacker Timur Glaskov rallied the opportunist hijackers to expand the stray Void particles upwards from Neatery and Bad Apple to form a black background, and fill it with small heart placeholders. There had already been discussions of writing the kanji characters with Touhou, and the kanji banner, designed by Hijacker Wavy and also featuring Yin Yang Orb, was built over the placeholder hearts. The banner had to swerve right to a permanent demarcation line after being intruded upon by expanding the American flag, moving to attack Rainbow Road. Again, text reading zoom was added soon after, completing the Neatery Bad Apple kanji region. This artwork, however, soon proved to be on a particularly volatile piece of land. Its proximity to the center of the canvas and its location in the middle of a frequent war zone meant that the region faced constant troubles next door. This was the last expansion of the day, and many settled down for the next day, which they believed would be spent holing up and defending their artworks. They were wrong. On the second day, the canvas expanded, doubling in size to create a 2000 by 1000 pixel canvas. Upon this unexpected event, a wildfire of enthusiasm broke out in the server as the vast expanse of blank space lay before the hijackers. Mere minutes afterwards, the next expansion of the Hijack Brigade began. Work started on a 32 by 32 red box that placed a new character, a ghost from Incident Past, or well, half a ghost. Gyomu's sprite from Touhou platformer fan game Gensokyo Night Festival was palette converted and placed into the spreadsheet by artists cynicalsix and Roger22 to occupy the new perimeter, with the project also taking place under the new spreadsheet strategy. There was, however, one slight issue. Germany. The great horizontal behemoth barreled through whatever stood in its way, and in its path was the red box. Diplomat Asiata von Nebenon was dispatched to the Germans to open diplomatic relations, and the collision was easily resolved by simply moving the box 2 pixels upwards. Some were also worried about a nearby expansion of the American flag, but coordinator HyperCecil101 went into the American Discord and obtained assurance that the coordinated Americans within the Discord would not go past the border of X coordinate 480. Cecil took an additional step and asked for Clown Piece, a request that was well received under the condition that she wasn't within the territory of the American flag. While the Touhou server was quite keen on the idea, rallying around a design made by Hijacker Stallone, the plan was unfortunately lost in the chaos of the following hours. Diplomatic relations were still formed between the two groups, and the Hijack Brigade lent some pixels to the Imojima memorial on the American flag. With the skeleton of the background box complete, the brigade launched a wave of hijackers to commence the construction of Yomu. Yomu's artwork, built slightly northwards of the original plan to avoid being too close to the Germans, went up quite easily. During the initial placement of the red box, an identically colored border was seen reaching further out than the official claim of the brigade. With nothing outstanding in the area, the spot was considered free territory, so the brigade expanded there by building Yomu's mistress, Yuko Saigyoji, the girl's girl in the Netherworld Tower. whose sprite, like Yomu's, was also from Gensokyo Night Festival and palette converted into the spreadsheet by cynicalsix and Roger22. The Brigade noticed some mysterious writing in the bottom left corner of the red box, beginning with a white M. At first, it was thought that a mysterious figure was writing the word Myon, which is the nickname for Yomu's ghost half. The server recoiled in shock when the next letter was an A. A quick investigation revealed the builders as R Marvel Studios. Diplomats were sent forth, and the Marvel text was officially allowed to stay in the box, with a tepid alliance being formed. But despite the efforts of coordinators to inform the Touhou community to keep Marvel in the box, text was constantly changed to Touhou due to users outside of the server who were unaware of the lines, and perhaps a few within the server. The official agreement with the Marvel logo was ultimately forfeited, and Marvel was forced to move elsewhere. There were some discussions with Touhou's southern neighbor in the expansion, R+DE. The proposal was the addition of Suika Ibuki to the German flag, with beer as the character is a raging alcoholic. Though the idea had been mentioned before, it began to gain traction at this time because of Germany now neighboring Touhou. Yet the plan could never gain support from R+DE, which puts projects on the flag to a user vote, so Suika was put aside for the time being. Similarly, a collaboration with Germany remained an admittedly rather far-fetched idea in the Hijack Brigade that would continue to be brought up in later times. Back in the first part of the canvas, Romanian diplomat Treceți had been searching for connections for the European nation. Enter Alice Margatroyd, the 7-colored puppeteer who appears in Stage 3 of Touhou 7, Perfect Cherry Blossom. The theme of this stage is titled The Dollmaker of Bucharest, which makes Alice a dollmaker from Bucharest, the capital of Romania. Knowing this connection, Treceți suggested building Alice in the Romanian flag to his friend Multino. Multino was part of the Hijack Brigade and forwarded the Romanian Alice suggestion to it. The Hijackers were naturally enthusiastic for any sort of additional Touhou art, and Treceți arrived to form the alliance between the Brigade and Romania. The arrangement with the Romanians became the second strongest one that Touhou had during ArtPlace 2022, as the two groups would build together, fight together, and yes, even die together. Spoilers. Despite how strong the connection grew later on, the R-Romania server's user base was initially not very enthusiastic. Though officially approved by Romanian leader Prodigy, multiple votes had to be taken, including a narrow 12-11 one. However, as Touhou contributed to East Romania, a small Romanian flag in expansion, and Petești Castle in West Romania, the first and larger flag, the Brigade gradually gained the respect of the Romanians. Once again, using a Gensokyo Night Festival sprite that was palette converted by cynicalsix and Roger22, the Alice project began after the construction of Yuyuko. The plan hit a roadblock when the Hijack Brigade's pixels were almost immediately replaced. This was initially assumed to be the doing of Romanian bots mindlessly maintaining the tricolor, but as it turns out, it was the fault of Romanians who were still resistant to the idea of Alice. Coordinator Ocelin tried to get the Hijackers to attack everyone like how the Nidori raid worked, but the plan was foiled from within the Hijack Brigade.
I'm going to start the ping for the Alice.
All right.
Coordinates Alice are there.
Guys, can someone please clean the spreadsheet? It's too laggy. There's a bunch of memes.
I've been
Whoever is posting memes on the spreadsheet needs to stop.
As the spreadsheet that was being used for artwork at the time had been set to anyone can edit in order to allow hijackers to claim pixels, people had already been vandalizing pages. At the appointed time for Alice's construction, the spreadsheet simply didn't load for many, forcing the abandonment of the spreadsheet and a temporary delay. The new spreadsheet was titled 3 Who Hijack LOL, notably set to view only, with only designated artists able to edit it. With the Brigade busy with diplomacy with neighboring groups and many discouraged by the Romanian oppositionists, Alice's construction was pushed later on as the two servers, our Romanian and our Touhou, resolved their own problems. During this time, the red box of Touhou continued to sprawl rightwards, consuming all stray pixels and partly built artworks in its path. Some groups, however, begged for mercy, and the power of friendship prevailed. The gamer Discord server, a group of friends, had been steadily building their tiny controller logo when they discovered a sea of the exact same shade of red approaching. Under threat of being blotted out by the tide, Diplomat Nix contacted several of the users pasting pixels for the Touhou artwork, where at the time of the event, one could see which user placed which pixel and go to the profile, and, to the great joy of the tiny controller people, finally made contact with hijacker Lapis Lazuli, who relayed their plea of mercy to the Discord server. Next, and another diplomat, Pervilder, were invited into the server and managed to secure a new location for the tiny controller above Yuko. The Hijack Brigade was very bemused with their tiny controller friends. To the right was the Discord server The Legacy, represented by, well, Oleg. The Legacy is a community server with a unique map gimmick. Every day, server members must invite one person to the server. No more, no less. This person must be from a region that already has a representative in the server, or from a region adjacent to an already represented region. The Legacy had first sought to build their entire logo, named Legman, with design and pixelation done by Top Hat Paladin, an attempt that was met with failure. The Legacy head Algernon Charles Swinburne made a simpler design featuring just the leg, and the new attempt began above the German flag, right in the path of Touhou's expanding background. Algernon arrived in the Touhou R-Play server to ask to be spared, a request that was granted. The leg was relocated with the limb rotated and moved below Yuyuko. The leg survived to the end, even if it looked a bit suspicious. Finally, CV673 joined the group. This was a joint project between two separate factions that happened to build next to each other. The CV was Crew Victorious, a group of friends who had started playing games together from middle school. They were the first to arrive in the area. Another friend group, TMCC Hub, built their so-called funny number of 673 next to the CV and reached out for an alliance. They worked as one, and diplomat Heises from TMCC Hub asked for truce with the Hijack Brigade. CV673 was then incorporated into the design. Though all these allied artworks were threatened frequently through the normal chaos of the canvas, notably with the tiny controllers fight for life against the GME stockline, the power of friendship prevailed, with only 2 unfortunate casualties. CV673 had tragically been eroded at the time of the final canvas, with the griefing happening under the brigade's radar in the final hours. The next character to be built in the red box was Yukari Yakumo, the yokai of boundaries. The sprite used was once again from Gensokyo Night Festival to match with Yomo and Yuyuko, and palette converted into the spreadsheet by cynicalsix and Roger22. The original plan was to build left of Yomu, but Marvel's desire to build superheroes Captain America and Iron Man there necessitated relocating Yukari to the right of Yuyuko. In the way was BSM, an Ostomania tournament organization group. BSM diplomat rhymes with MASH simply requested for the logo to be left alone until they could complete and screenshot it, after which they would allow themselves to be consumed by the crimson paint. With the help of the hijackers, the logo was quickly finished, and BSM took their screenshot. Yukari was built on top of the logo soon after. The eyes of Yukari's scabs were added later, putting the finishing touches on the PCB trio, titled because all 3 characters are major characters who debuted in the game Touhou 7, Perfect Cherry Blossom. The PCB trio was another significant outpost of Touhou, a representative of the Hijack Brigade's sprawling reach across the canvas. Work finally began on Romanian Alice about 2.5 hours from the original starting time. Despite reservations that Alice would experience the same opposition that she did during the first attempt, Romanian leaders assured support. Some hijackers still anticipated resistance, but enough support from the ARB Romania server was seen to convince the brigade to go ahead with the project. After all, Alice is Romanian.
Yeah, Romanian girl, and her last name is Murd. Romania. She's the most Romanian that ever Romania'd.
Though there was some miscommunication with the neighboring Our Adventure Time building an unauthorized Ice King in the same spot, Alice was easily built in her designated spot right at the Moldovan coat of arms, having won over enough Romanians. Her ribbon was changed to match the colors of the Romanian flag, though it witnessed frequent vandalizations, likely by independent Touhou fans, converting it to a solid red ribbon. Nevertheless, Alice was completed in her homeland of Romania. With Alice in place, the Hijack Brigade could turn its attention to planning for its 2017 artwork. The original 2017 Artplace artwork used sprites from the defense strategy fan game PatchCon, as those are the icons for the user players of Touhou. The new Plan mural paid homage to this by using the same art style. Artist Miku Reimu made a variety of draft designs featuring the previously selected Touhou characters taken from the subreddit Layers, and a self-made PatchCon-styled Rin Kakamine, created to honor the old promise to our Hatsune. Due to the first expansion making an awkward and uneven 2000 by 1000 canvas, rumors emerged of a second expansion. The artwork was too big to build without an unfeasible war in the current canvas, so it would have to be built in a blank canvas, something that would be provided by a second expansion. Several polls were held with the same conclusion. The 2017 style project was next, and Rin the Vocaloid would be included in some form. Hijackers moved for a bigger and better project than the original 2017 artwork with 6 characters instead of 4, with our Hatsune's characters' presence being debated. However, most wanted to honor the friendship, so some proposed having 4 characters for our Touhou and 2 characters for our Hatsune. Our Hatsune's second representative could then be Kasane Tato, who is an Utauloid. Utau is a voice synthesizer software much like Vocaloid, with the notable exception of it being free. Like Vocaloid, there are characters associated with voice banks, so while Utauloids are not exactly Vocaloids, Tato, as the most prominent Utauloid, has often appeared in Vocaloid-related media. Consider her an honorary Vocaloid of sorts. Anyways, back to the topic. This leaves the 2017 artwork lineup at this time as Flandre, Sakura, Koishi, Marisad, Rin, and Tato. No concrete designs had emerged as of yet, but the overall idea had formed. Meanwhile, there was a small neighbor change. Our Liverpool FC, the subreddit for the football club of Liverpool, had been Nitori and Bad Apple's southern neighbor. Conflict with Peruvian streamer Andy Insane led to the Peruvians taking over the football club's territory, with minor spillover into the Touhou artworks. They built the wonder of the world of Machu Picchu with a bright cyan sky. Touhou had never established contact with Liverpool, so the hijackers were mostly unconcerned besides the integrity of their borders. Would Peru be an ally, an enemy, or just one of the endless factions on the art place canvas? Time would tell. Twitch streamer, chess champion, former professional Overwatch player. To the members of Touhou Art Place, Canadian streamer XQC of Quebec is the great tyrant who dared to strike their sacred shrine. His purple void represents terror, fear, and death. The story begins with the flag of Turkey. On the first day, XQC attacked the flag of Turkey while Turkish-American streamer Hassan Abi, declaring neutrality in our place, did not assist the Quebecois streamer with the construction of his XQCL emote in the neighboring flag of Quebec. XQC later retreated from the Turkish flag and instructed his chat to rebuild it in hopes of convincing the Turks to help build his XQCL emote. Hassan Abi stated that the Turkish coalition would remember the assistance, but the Turks did not let XQC go that easily, exacted revenge when the streamer was offline by invading and annexing the flag of Quebec. So it was in Anatolia that XQC's Twitch-based army first made landfall to avenge the old flag of Quebec, enveloping the red banner with a smothering purple embrace. The so-called purple void expanded from there with roots, piercing through the transgender flag and the Union Jack. XQC made his way into Peruvian territories below Nitori and Bad Apple, declaring it as his new hub, though he was unaware that the area belonged to Peru. He then moved his army to VTuber agency Hololive, offering peace to the Peruvians when he noticed that their flag was standing particularly strong. When the Peruvians naturally tried to take back their other territory, XQC saw it as an unwarranted attack on his hub, and brought his army back from the Hololive front to attack Peru. With the Purple Void way too close for comfort, Touhou secured an alliance with our Osu Place and was incorporated into their overlay, a program that displays which color each pixel is supposed to be on the canvas, effectively overlaying the correct plan on the map and allowing for easier placement than having users check the spreadsheet. Users could then rebuild artworks from scratch even if they had no point of reference on the canvas proper. Inclusion on the Osu overlay meant that Touhou was included in the allies that Osu forces would defend. The Osu Alliance led to partnerships with all those aligned with the infamous rhythm game, most notably our Komi-san place. Although the KCB trio was initially misaligned of the overlay, the artworks in the first sector were fine, something that proved critical in the coming hour. XQC's roots tore relentlessly through all the artwork that he passed, all while the streamer accused everyone who resisted of botting. At 3:08 UTC, XQC arrived at the doorsteps of the original Touhou battle. He did not knock.
Chat, can we think all this, you think? All purple? All this? Take it. Consume. Guys, next battle. Do not hurt Osu. It is not, guys, it is not worth it. It's not that I like Osu. It's that all your efforts will be reverted. Make a black line around Osu. Make the outline around Osu and push this. Consume this.
The Hijack Brigade watched in horror as the sea of purple poured into the region, submerging all artworks there in an unrelenting poisonous flood. Though the Hijack Brigade and all their friends fought valiantly, the virtual diva and the shrine maiden drowned together, their bodies no longer visible under the weight of thousands of Twitch stream viewers. To make matters worse, XQC decreed that this was where he would try to cement his power.
Chat, guys, if all goes well, boys, this could be our hub. Chat, this could be our new hub. Guys, if you are nice, if you are chill in here, if we take purple, okay, the communities here won't fight back. They'll help us out.
As XQC announced that the location was to be his new base, complete with a giant Twitch logo, all hope was lost. It was a sad day on the server, as many mourned what they believed would be a permanent loss of the original artwork, despite their heroic fight. Yet little did they know that a savior was on the horizon. XQC notably steered past the Osu logo in order to not provoke a fight with the Juggernaut. This strategy wasn't very effective, as this near-fanatical army happened to be allied with almost the entire region, and had already been defending its allies from XQC's Void. Among its allies was, of course, Touhou. Despite the war, our Osu Place leader Eman Fman held back the mass at everyone ping in the R Osu Place server until Osu's territories were directly attacked. XQC began to erect his monument to his own power, but little did he know that the army of Osu was massing on the border like vultures, waiting for the perfect moment to strike and liberate their allies from the Quebecois tyrant. Once the Twitch logo was sufficiently built for our Osu Place leadership to size it up, the battle began.
No, Osu won't attack, there's no shot.
Okay, so let's start building the rainbow underneath it then, yeah? Are we all good? Alright, using the template in the overlay, let's start on the bottom row of that rainbow.
Bottom row of the rainbow?
Yeah, bottom row of that rainbow.
Do it. Chat, build the rainbow. Underneath the Twitch.
Now second row of the rainbow, second row. Third row of the rainbow now. Fourth row of the rainbow now.
Okay, done.
Eman Fman directed the Osu army to form 4 rows of pixel.spaces rainbow, then commanded the squadron to pause as to wait for XQC's response. Believing that the Purple Void had sufficiently avoided Osu, XQC was sure that it was not the doing of the Rilling Gang fans. Feeling confident, Eman Fman made the next move.
Okay, do we want to do something like egregious? And like rebuild our Touhou? Like in one shot?
Yeah.
Okay, if your birthday is January, February, March. Yeah, birthday January, February, March. Everyone else wait. January, February, March, rebuild our Touhou. It's the orange section at the top of their Twitch logo. Go for it now.
Our Osu Place was directed way by way to build our Touhou banner by placing the red colors of the banner. This got a little out of hand, and many outside users, including the Hijack Brigade itself, flooded in and swiftly overran the entire area containing the Twitch logo with red. Osu jumped downwards and started another rainbow attack, but by that point their initial rainbow had been overwritten. Likewise, this rainbow also got a bit out of hand. XQC was quite puzzled as to why people were attacking his logo. Was it the Turkish rising up in revenge? XQC happened upon Osu streamer BTMC's stream, who at the time was hovering over the Touhou region supporting Osu. The progenitor of the purple realized the perpetrators, and...
Okay, guys, where did they destroy that? Where are they located at? Let's just go roll them. Where are they at? Link it. I don't want to do that for no reason. It's Osu. Okay, everybody keep your dots. Everybody keep your dots. Ready? I don't give a shit anymore. Fuck this guy. Okay, yo, everybody attack Yosu logo. Ready? 3, 2, 1, consume.
Yeah, we're not even on the reserves yet, XQC. You hear that?
We're gonna go on our logo. They're going on our logo.
Reserves time.
Let's go, bring it in!
It's over. We need support. We need support. Logo. Everyone run out.
Here we go, guys. Here we go.
Osu was powerful, but even it, in all its coordinated strength, could not keep all the viewers at bay, and the pink of the logo began to be corrupted into purple. And yet, in the terror of standing in the shadow of a falling empire, was a glimmer of hope for the brigade, a light shining to rise. Mini Cherno lived, quite fine actually, despite the gigantic war turned just a buffer, and so it was charged with this ice fairy-inspired hope that Touhou began to fight back. With Osu deploying its at everyone ping, the war was on. After bombing the Osu logo, XQC received misinformation that the red was the doing of the Turks. XQC apologized to Osu and decided to start a project for his Twitch icon, featuring Overwatch character Winston. A suggestion guided the streamer to Dean Peppy Herbert, who just so happens to be the main developer of Osu. XQC, unaware of the connection the art had to Osu, dropped his Twitch logo on top of it. With the war in full swing, BTMC was sent to negotiate with XQC, with the misinformation about the Turks forgotten. The results?
Look, man, here's the deal. I know you're trying to use a different tactics of negotiations, and here's the thing. We are willing to stand our ground with our allies, and if you can't defeat us, you are going to have to work with us, okay? You are on our turf, and unless you're willing to work with us, we are going to stand our ground.
Because there's nothing more fragile than one Osu users and weebs, and you guys are just fragile. I don't know what to tell you.
We're fragile as fuck, but for some reason, you still can't take us out. What's up with that?
Okay, guys, regroup. Everybody on pink, everybody on Osu, ready? Guys, keep your cooldown. 3, 2, 1, burn it.
With XQC locked in a direct war of attrition with Osu, pink and purple blood spilling all over the circle logo from the Clash of the Titans, the brigade was able to rebuild the Touhou banner and the Miku Reimu artwork in the now abandoned bones of the Twitch logo. The streamer declared victory upon the Rhythm Game logo as the purple hordes ravaged the land, scoffing at the alliances that Osu upheld. XQC taunted the giant, telling the circle clickers to call upon their friends.
Where are the allies now, man? Where is the Star Wars help? Is Star Wars gonna help? Is Games gonna help? Is Rainbow building? Is Touhou gonna help? Is Touhou gonna help? Is Touhou gonna help?
Hijackers joined Osu and their comrades in fighting against XQC, slowly bringing color back into the land surrounding Osu that were once covered in a violent expanse. Osu diplomat Nyanaro offered to help build XQC's logo in the blue corner in return for the logo moving off of Peppy, an idea that XQC was quite averse to. The streamer nevertheless conceded to the move after being enticed by the idea of a bigger logo in the corner. With XQC gone, our Osu place was venerated as a great bastion of weeps. Reimu and her friends have been to hell and back, and were now resurrected with passion and excitement to create. Mini Chirno in particular emerged as an almost godlike figure.
I'm so proud that Mini Chirno just survived.
Yeah, Mini Chirno.
Yeah.
He survived everything right now.
Mini Chirno was at the front lines.
He's bad strong. Mini Chirno's so strong.
The strongest. Never forget that Mini Chirno is on the front lines of fucking history.
Wait, you guys pronounce her as Chirno?
Well, that's
how the product. With XQC's moving away from Osu's territories, Touhou felt confident that the storm had passed. However, the service then noticed tendril of void creeping out from the XQC icon in the blue corner to meet the XQC icon that had tried to overtake Peppy. This was not of XQC's doing and is likely the action of a few independent users. This tendril was heading right in the direction of the PCB trio, but Yukari just missed obliteration as the Berlin Among Us victory column on the German flag took the brunt of the damage. The large black splotch produced was perfect in the eyes of some hijackers to build Yukari's gap again.
Is somebody putting eyes in the void? Wait a second.
Let's go!
Guys, come on, Hijack.
Hi, Hijack. Let's go. Let's go.
Hijack.
All that had to be added were the eyes and a purple border to enclose the gap. The hijackers made a surprising amount of progress, with quite a few eyes showing up, but this endeavor ended up not lasting as the Germans and other residents eventually reclaimed the area. Despite the erasure, the uncoordinated hijack was quite a victory considering the good number of eyes that were made. This incident with the void tendril was one of the many grazes for Touhou Art Place, referencing the graze mechanic in the games where getting close to a bullet without hitting it, for Touhou artwork often narrowly missed destruction by streamer activity throughout the event. The brigade's focus was shifted back to the first part of the canvas when the Peruvian sky expanded straight up next to the border of Nitori and Bad Apple. Fearing a potential takeover, the hijackers stood at the ready. The Peruvians were then interrupted by a familiar face. Upon seeing an XQC hate meme on Reddit, the streamer launched an attack on the Machu Picchu artwork in the middle of the canvas, though he was unaware of its identity.
No. Why is it always...
With the streamer army having fairly low accuracy, Nitori and Bad Apple saw significant purple spillover. The brigade quickly fixed their artworks up, and XQC was soon distracted from art place by Call of Duty Black Ops 2 challenge with streamer Miku. Residing in such a hotly contested area was still a constant worry for the brigade. Luckily, the Peruvians did not proceed further with building their sky, so Touhou Art Place considered the expansion to not be something worth worrying about. For now. After a minor alliance with R. Higurashi, born off R. Higurashi building the character Reina Ryugu below the PCB trio, the newly empowered brigade looked outward. The Hijack Brigade from the official Touhou Art Place server was not the only Touhou-centered faction at play on the campus. Several independent projects called indie projects were begun by Touhou fans outside the official server. While these projects did not originate from the server, these groups communicated and worked closely with the brigade. The artworks were supported by the brigade through addition to the main Touhou Art Place spreadsheet, and later addition to the overlay. Two of these indie projects were done by streamers. First was by streamer TevinVR, who built an artwork based on the Koishi Kameji blob gif by Remit, with pixel art done by a member of the chat named Oilus. This Koishi was located a good distance away from the other Touhou artworks in the upper section of the expansion. Streamer Kevshak, a big fan of Sane Kochiya, the deified human of the wind, built a small Sane designed in collaboration with his chat near the PCB trio. These two artworks were eventually noticed by the brigade and incorporated into the brigade's defense. In yet another of the many corners of the internet that had been sending out troops to the great battlefield, a plot was brewing. A plan to build a gigantic artwork in the new expansion representing 9 different communities. Discussion and debate behind closed doors unbeknownst to the Touhou R-Play server eventually led to the arrival of a diplomat from an organization known as the United Place Gacha Alliance. Padosa, both the gacha game Blue Archive's Discord server, suggested to the smaller Blue Archive community to collaborate with other gacha games in order to get more pixels to put their art on the canvas. With fellow gacha factions like the Arknights and Girls Frontline R-Play servers concurring, Padosa founded the Gacha Alliance, a place where all gacha games could have a safe haven to build against the storms of the war. Honkai Impact, Genshin Impact, Fate Grand Order, and Guardian Tales joined the growing alliance later. 2 spaces in the planned 3x3 mural remained. It was here that Fate Grand Order and Arknights representative Reimu began to represent Touhou Lost Word, a game whose Discord server they mod.
Lost Word is an unofficial RPG Touhou gacha game. While it is not an official Touhou game, it does have a license to exist from Zune as a derivative work.
At the time of our place, there was also one other relevant unofficial licensed Touhou gacha, Danmaku. This one a rhythm game. Upon its global release, Lost Word became controversial simply because of its gacha character and a franchise centering around bullet hell games alongside other various reasons. So when Gacha Alliance diplomat ideology arrived to offer Touhou a spot, a debate arose. Most were open to the idea simply because of it allowing for more Touhou art on the canvas, but there were several specifics that had to be figured out. The first question was choosing between Lost Word and Danmaku, with a significant third faction calling for not participating in the alliance at all due to not wanting to associate Touhou with gacha. Lost Word won the poll mostly because it is the larger game, especially with its global release, which Danmaku did not have. With this debate settled, the next topic was what their artwork should be. Most of the other gacha games had used their app icons. Touhou Lost Word changes its icon quite a bit, but many wanted the classic icon featuring Marisa Kirisame. Next was deciding whether to use art of normal Marisa or art of her alternate universe counterpart, the Witch of Scarlet Dream, also known as Red Marisa, Ulcerissa, or most commonly in this context, Scarlet Marisa. Not to be confused with Marisa Scarlet, also from Lost Word. It's complicated. Since Scarlet Marisa seemed more representative of Lost Word's signature use of alternate universes, the poll favored her. There was a small issue in that Scarlet Marisa was never actually featured in the app icon, but this was resolved by simply cropping a square section of her official artwork. Reimu arrived in the Touhou R-Play server. With the plans already in motion, the acceptance of the invitation was relayed, and Touhou representatives were sent to the Gacha Alliance server, although there was a notable lack of participation from the official Lost Word Discord server due to the lack of members with Reddit accounts. The earlier members of the Gacha Alliance already had their art done, but the brigade sent their selected icon to artist Miko Reimu for manual pixelization. Several hours later, they faced the prospect of being kicked from the Alliance for 2 reasons. 1, the progress of submitting their own artwork was deemed too slow, and 2, some of the Alliance believed that Touhou would be unable to contribute to the Alliance's mural due to being spread out over so many separate territories. But after Miko Reimu's arrival with the final design, Touhou's mission in the Alliance was secured. Lost Word made it in alongside Project Sekai, with the other candidate for the last 2 spots, our Azure Lane, having uncooperative moderators who were against R-Play's participation. Touhou became part of the Gacha Alliance, joining a coalition that eventually included the likes of Pulling Ball, Maryland, typical gacha games. Although unlike with the Osu Coalition, Touhou was not as connected to the groups under the Gacha Alliance umbrella, at least in part due to mixed feelings about the collaboration with the Alliance. Alongside the territorial progression so far, the brigade was also tinkering with new technology. They had their own overlay template, but they were using a generic Tamper Monkey script to display it, which was inconvenient because people had to load in the template themselves. Hijackers designed an overlay script to display an overlay over one portion of the canvas, though it would not be used for much other than testing designs and building smaller parts of artworks because of its limited size. The new overlay option sufficed until a better one could be set up. Marisa fan Harusame Soup had been trying to build a Marisa design by Earl for a while. After Soup attempted to do so near Mini Chirino and various other locations without success, a space opened up in the remains of the US flag cut off from the rest of the flag by an invasion of the Pride flag colony. Soup independently seized the opportunity to build a Marisa next to the kanji banner, a Marisa that was nicknamed Smorissa. Soup's call for help in their general channel was answered, and while there were some scuffles over whether or not to add tears to make Smorissa a Marissa, Soup's request for Smorissa to be left without tears was adhered to. Smorissa looked great, but her time was fleeting as 3.5 hours later, she was reclaimed by the American flag due to being past the agreed Touhou American demarcation line. To the left of PCB, OTT and music production software by Expert Records took over Marvel's territory, with OTT diplomat K-Dux securing a friendship with Touhou and offering bots for the upkeep at Alice. While the coordinators ended up allying, Touhou's admittedly very shaky friendship with Marvel meant that many of the users were not very enthusiastic about the haphazard supposed alliance.
In another part of the canvas, the nation of Armenia had been looking for a place to build their flag. After escaping the ruins of their old flag, which was destroyed by streamer Bruce Dropimoff and his Deo fanbase, the Armenians began to build just eastward of the large Romanian flag, soon joined by the flag of Georgia. Their respite was brief, as the Armenians had been constantly harassed by Turkish users and a variety of people from Azerbaijan, such as Azeri TikTokers. Romanian diplomat Hakurei decided to advocate for the Armenians as well, representing them as a diplomat. He proposed forming an alliance between Armenia and Touhou, which was accepted by both parties, and Touhou lent assistance to the Armenians and Georgians against the Azeri invasion. The Armenians eventually were overrun and forced to relocate, but the alliance between the Armenians and the Brigade still stood.
With the predicted second expansion approaching, the actual artwork process for the 2017 art began. The Vocaloid representation was subject to some miscommunication. Hatsune had voted to select their second character on the mural to be Kasane Teto rather than Len Kagamine. Rin's actually is complicated. Their relationship changes from song to song based on what the producer wants. I don't even know anymore. Anyways, Teto originated as an April Fool's Day joke, so many thought that she was more fitting. The poll was interpreted on the Touhou side as replacing Rin with Teto rather than adding both Rin and Teto, since having Rin without Len or vice versa would not make sense since they're usually together. Some hijackers had actually tried to build Teto on day one, with the Teto sprite even making it onto the first spreadsheet, but that attempt was unofficial though, and never succeeded. This Teto, however, had the full weight of the Hijack Brigade behind it. The server voted to replace Marissad with the 5th placer character, Utsuho Oku Ryuji, the subterranean sun, due to Scarlet Marissa already representing the character Marissa Kurisame. In the middle junctions, the artist left room for the yin yang from the 2017 design, and 01 based on Hatsune Miku's shoulder tattoo, marking her as character vocal number 01 of Crypton Future Media, her creator. This meant that there was one more spot for a Touhou character. The artist decided to add a character from a more recent game, as the latest characters were Utsuho and Koishi from Touhou 11's Subterranean Animism, released in 2008. The artist chose Shimiomaru Sukuna, the fairy tale-esque and pole-riding inchling from Touhou 14, double-dealing character, which released in 2013 and was the first of the latest 3rd generation Windows games. The patchcon arts of the Touhou characters were taken from the flares of the subreddit, which in turn were taken either directly from patchcon or made by any one of these users on this list. The patchcon styled Teto was made by our Hatsune member Voxel and color adjusted by Roger22. With all these patchcon arts, artist not CJ created the 2x3 artwork template. The official 2017 proposal was completed and approved by poll, with a subsequent poll being held to decide the 6th character between various newer characters. Shimiomaru was simply kept. With the art placed in the spreadsheet with the help of the likes of Hijackers, Brain Damage, Friendo, and Waffles, the 2017 plan was complete. All that was left was to wait for an expansion. XQC was far from Touhou's last deadly encounter with streamers. Enter the nation of Poland. From the gates of Twitch descended hordes of Polish hussars, summoned by Polish streamer Miojuki7, who happened upon the lands of Romania after raiding the nearby Mexican flag. This was purportedly because the streamer, who plays League of Legends, had caught wind of word that the Romanians intended to invade the League logo. Something that was false, as the Romanians did not wish to attack the logo. The attack was merciless, destroying all art on the flag in the process, and of course, Alice Margatroyd was consumed by the white and red banner. Yet not all hope was lost. Once the streamer went offline, our Romania and the rest of the artworks charged forth, with the Brigade joining in, all the while streaming an exorbitant number of Touhou games to the voice channel. The Romanian coalition threw off the white and red cloak of death, reviving the doll maker from Bucharest. This greatly strengthened Romanian patriotism within the Touhou Hijack Brigade, as the two groups had fought and survived the shared enemy of streamers. When Marissad was replaced in the 2017 artwork by Utsuho, her chief promoter YouTuber Chirino still wanted to build her somewhere, and thus started a new separate server, recruiting for the main Touhou Art Place server and the Clownfest server. The Marissad Rplay server was born. Two main Marissad designs were used. Big Marissad was by LMS and depicted the sad Marissa alongside the word Allo, referencing Allo.mp4, a Koshi meme video that had become quite popular on the main Marissad server. Small Marissad's origin is unknown, but she was based on the artwork of normal Marissa with tears added to make her sad. The server was ironically not responsible for the first two Marissas on the canvas.
So in its first hours, it simply protected Harusame Soup's small Marissa near the American flag, and a small Marissa located at the bottom right edge of the canvas that was built separately from the Marissa at our play server. This latter Marissa was cut off at the canvas edge, so the tearful troopers waited in great anticipation for the expansion to bring new, glorious opportunities.
Finally, there's the situation of Mini Chirino. After briefly becoming tanned like her appearance in Touhou 16 Hidden Star in 4 seasons, Mini Chirino was overrun by RM Industries Alpha-chan. Noticing the disappearance of Mini Chirino, the Hijack Brigade rebuilt her slightly northeast, with the original builders of the Chirino embassy following the move. Mini Chirino lived on to give frequent morale boosts to the server, further increasing her cult following with only a minor kerfuffle over the specific shade of her bow bothering the chill fairy. Up to that point, Touhou and his allies stretched from one corner of the canvas to another, withstanding the crashing fists of streamers and defying adversity. Yet their aspirations proved to be insatiable, as indicated by their vigor when the bells tolled once again, signaling a second expansion. The canvas doubled once more, creating a 2000 by 2000 pixel canvas. The 2017 plan was put into action almost immediately. Touhou, however, was not going to be uncontested. The brigade noted that their borders overlapped with a circle that looked like the C-round enemy from Deltarune. Yet, that was not the case, as the hijackers found no discussion regarding such a project from the Deltarune R-Play server. Later on, it was unveiled that the work was the doing of Twitch group only Nikos. In this case, the overlap seemed so minimal that the brigade just designed to fight them off. Also presenting a problem was a quite formed artwork under the border between Sakuya and Tedo. In all the chaos, the brigade constructed a makeshift name identifying the group so that anyone the multitude of factions that the 2017 mural was intersecting with could contact them. The biggest intersection was with the Sci-Fi Fantasy Alliance, a group of science fiction and fantasy series creating a collaborative piece of artwork. The Alliance had already agreed to move downwards from the previous location as part of a deal to partly merge their artwork with One Piece's Goldie Roger artwork. So this meant that the entire 2017 mural had to move one square downward, leaving 2 partially built flandres removed. Those listening in to the newly formed stage, created out of the need to manage the massive amount of people joining into the voice channel, moved quicker than the general population at this point, so the abandoned flandre was still partially built. In the meantime, the Gacha Alliance was experiencing some setbacks. Though they had completed the first 6 icons of the Gacha corner, they were unable to finish the last row of icons, including Lost Word, due to the presence of the Argentine flag below them. The Alliance had no choice but to adjust their design to a 5x2 rectangular structure and try to expand horizontally instead. The Hijack Brigade had not been very conducive to the joint effort of the Gacha Alliance for several reasons. For one, the construction of the 2017 artwork took up most of the brigade's pixels. Secondly, the Touhou R-Play server wasn't exactly raving about Lost Word, having been divided on the decision in the first place. Thirdly, the official Lost Word Discord community did not have too many Reddit users or people willing to make Reddit accounts. And finally, Coordinator Cherries, who had led the negotiations with the Gacha Alliance, was inactive at the time, which kept the rest of the server in the dark about the plans. Thus, Touhou's contributions were mainly from the smaller subset of Lost Word fans within the greater Hijack Brigade. Since Touhou was too far to the side of the new design to reasonably add by the expansion using the currently available manpower, it would have to be included in some smaller manner. That method, however, was still to be discussed. The bottom right square containing Shimiomaru was partially occupied by the Swedish school NTI, located in the city of Eskilstuna, and the Lucky Beast of our Kimono friends. Hijackers shifted to focus there in order to establish the corners of their artwork, pouring in the yellow background on the poor groups entrapped within Touhou's borders. Nevertheless, some communication was established with both groups. NTI was eventually lost, but Touhou diplomat Braxbro maintained contact with Kimono friends, resulting in the formation of a partnership with the immediate goal of relocating the Lucky Beast somewhere to the side. Next, a partially built Umbreon from Pokemon and the presence of the Green Lattice to the southwest occupied the attention of the hijackers, with the most pressing matter being the presence of a different faction in the area, the Liverpool Football Club, the old neighbors of Nidory and Bad Apple. LFC's artwork intersected with the bottom left corner of the 2017 mural, creating disputed territory.
I just contacted LFC. They said that they're gonna try to grab they're gonna try to grab everything they have marked. Okay. And they said that we have enough space.
Guys, to be
clear,
we're gonna
that was pretty rude.
With both groups unwilling to compromise, the confrontation escalated to hostilities. The Hijack Brigade shifted focus to build a Touhou and the name banner on the bottom of the 2017 art to fight off the football hooligans. Meanwhile, diplomats were dispatched to the nearby Green Lattice, aiming to secure the Lattice's support against LFC. Now, a few Lattice users may have been open to it, and the message that Big Green Lattice was willing to consider entering the conflict was relayed to the Hijack Brigade at first, but the Lattice's official policy, followed by the Hive Mind, which gave a lot of the Lattice's strength, was to not destroy established artworks. The pacifist supermajority predictably overrode the Warhawks, and eventually the Green Lattice relayed another communication, this time definite. The faction does not wish to invade the established artwork of LFC. So the fight would be between Touhou and LFC alone. The Copites were eventually pushed back as their forward position was deemed untenable against the relentless offenses conducted by the opposing force.
They have confirmation from Liverpool that they're going to leave our name alone.
Yeah.
We won. They don't really have much choice. They're a lot smaller than us.
They also told you guys to get stuffed.
With the war ended, the disputed territory was ceded to the hijackers, and diplomats were dispatched with greetings heralding the new peace. Hijack, the streamer who built the mini-sane, returned with a bigger and better plan. When the canvas expanded, he began to build a larger Big Sane artwork, which, like the small Sane artwork, was also designed in collaboration with the chat. Big Sane found her home just left of the 2017 mural in a box shared with the art of YouTuber and streamer Pickle. This was in conflict with our Radiohead, which had been planning to build in the entire box region. It didn't help that some hijackers believed that Big Sane was being built by Touhou Utero Pro Drop, but it was eventually clarified that the creator was in fact Hijack and not Pro Drop. With assistance from the Hijack Brigade, Hijack was able to secure the spot for the rest of the event, albeit with some occasional vandalization such as haircuts and unibrows that turned into sunglasses. Big Sane complemented the 2017 art much like Small Sane did for the PCB show. Negotiations with Kimono Friends ended with the Lucky Beast being moved southeast to a little corner between Omori and Touhou, with the Lucky Beast overlapping slightly with the blank background of Shimiyomaru. Kimono Friends' spot was secured. Coordinator and Omori fan Hypercecil 101 discussed expanding the art eastwards to meet with the nearby Omori artwork in form of heart, later designed by Boopy Loops. However, this project was cancelled due to the presence of the Online Music Sequencer between the two factions. Online Sequencer eventually became an ally, and their mascot Robo was put under the Brigade's protection. Touhou is known for its often subtle influence on other communities, which is why, on occasions, Touhou content will be spread by non-Touhou fans. In the far north, players of social game VR Chat were building their logo. Mimi, a member of VR Chat's RPlay server, began to build a self-designed sprite of the VR Chat head of community support, Tupper, whose avatar is a robotic version of Chirino. The Touhou RPlay server did not know about the construction until after RPlay, and thus the work was done exclusively by VR Chat and their ally Arknights. This tiny Tupper remained to the end, an indirect monument to Touhou that the Brigade did not have to lift a finger to build. After much delay due to clashes in the southern portion of the 2017 mural, the construction of the remaining characters and the artwork finally resumed, with Sakia and Koichi taking form. The Yin Yang and the 01 also went up around this time, although the 01 experienced vandalization into a 9 in reference to Chirino, likely due to independent Touhou users unaware of the alliance with R. Hatsune. Coordinator Asan also suggested adding text reading Hijack to the R. Touhou text. The suggestion was added to the spreadsheet and implemented a few hours later. The stunning progress on the 2017 artwork would be celebrated by all, but the Hijack Brigade's iron reign would come to an abrupt end. From here on, our place will be a test from the divine, as the Brigade and allies muster everything they have to fight for their very existence on this canvas submerged in discord. The Hijack Brigade's good fortunes had lasted too long. An adversary who had seemingly been harmless was about to rise and put one of Touhou's first key holdings at stake.
Guys, go to Bad Apple. It seems like
Bad Apple is fine. Oh no, it's not fine actually.
It's not. Oh, guys. Okay, fucking DEFCON Red, they're trying to fucking do Bad Apple.
Fans of Peruvian streamer Andy Insane, the streamer who had built Machu Picchu, decided to expand the sky of Machu Picchu upwards into the artworks of Touhou and the neighboring factions. Whether or not they were acting upon the orders of Andy Insane is unclear. Regardless, quite a few expansionist Peruvians joined the battle, the most notable one being Peruvian streamer El Quinita.
Carlita, pon Celestito hoy. Nos están matando. Nos están invadiendo los hijos de puta. ¿Para qué? Es que no quiero hablar. Si todo el Team Choclito se une acá, la vamos a hacer linda, Así que todos pongan acá. Pongan azul.
The sky sliced Nidori and Bad Apple in half, stopping at the border of Oz Stanley Parable's artwork. Some, such as El Canita, tried to expand further, though the Brigade was able to fend them off from the upper half of Nidori and Bad Apple. Any efforts by the Brigade to fight back were seen as an invasion. Touhou diplomat Kapamari set forth to investigate. Our Peru denied responsibility and placed the blame on the streamers. Some in La Frente Army server, and the Ancien's fan server, accused El Canita as being behind the attack. Other smaller streamers were likely involved too. In the earlier hours, the Brigade VC blamed small streamer SSR 13-0 for the attack, believing that the immense strength of Machu Picchu's sky was from his bots. Ultimately, it seems that he was only one of the very many warhawks among Peruvians. There were also some other independent Peruvian citizens involved who weren't privy to the coordination of the various Peruvian factions, but still saw an opportunity for patriotic expansion. But to the Touhou server, the perpetrator was simply known as just a Peruvian streamer or Peruvians in general, and who the attackers exactly were mattered very little in the middle of war. This combined army took no more than 40 minutes to catch the underprepared Brigade by complete surprise and annihilate the garrison. Overwhelmed, diplomats were dispatched to the R-Touhou subreddit and various allies in quest for reinforcement, yet it was not enough. The R-Peru leadership was sympathetic to the cause of the Hijack Brigade and the other factions impacted by the expansion of the sky of the ancient city, but they were unable to muster enough strength in the Peruvian user base to turn back the expansion. Diplomat Nausicaa formed an alliance with R-Transplace in hopes of obtaining more forces to counteract the hordes of Peruvian streamer fans, but even that effort could not turn back the sky. Though R-Peru proposed helping Touhou to move upwards into the Rainbow Road, these plans never came to fruition. The Battle of Bad Apple occurred while the 2017 artwork was still unfinished. Confused and drowned in the chaos of information, the hijackers were thrown into disarray as their already thinly stretched forces were reallocated. The Brigade decided that it would be impossible to recapture Nidori and Bad Apple so long as the streamer remained online. After a long time of agonizing bloodshed, the hijackers decided to just reinforce the top half, and only attempt a counteroffensive after the streamer went offline and the sky's strength waned. Nidori and Bad Apple's southern portion remained occupied, just as their neighbors of the Inkling Squid, Totoro, and Project Moon were. The sun shone bright on Machu Picchu's clear skies as shadows of artwork loomed on the horizon, praying for heaven's judgment to come upon those who had wronged them. Going back to the previous topic of technology, the Brigade have been using an inefficient overlay that required each user to manually upload the overlay, with new versions of the overlay having to be delivered to and manually changed by each user whenever the design was updated. This issue of inefficiency was solved with the automatic overlay, which automatically showed new overlay updates to all users who had the script once they refreshed their page. This was, like many other overlays used by R-Place factions, stolen from Osu's overlay code. Hijack from Miku, alongside other maintainers such as Benman95, Skek, The Golden Proof, Tenrag, and CrosisBH, dutifully updated the overlay whenever required. This greatly streamlined the efficiency of updates, especially smaller ones such as changes in shading. Despite all the conflict, the 2017 artwork finally came to completion with the construction of Tato, culminating the Grand Alliance born underneath a humble banner in the beginnings of R-Place. To celebrate, a Scribble.io game and a Gardeck phone match were played at the voice channel, marking the formation of a community beyond simply placing pixels.
Touhou hijack in r/place.
Goodbye.
Where we go?
That's good.
Reminds me, we are all together in this moment in less than 3.
The finished mural marked a break in major projects, so the rest of the day saw various minor alterations and indie projects. Earlier during the construction of the 2017 banner, our Hatsune asked for permission to build their Miku 3 to the right of the upper side of the 2017 artwork, a request easily granted. They began to extend blocks in our Nyan place, seeking to build in the exact same area, contacted Touhou regarding their plans, thinking that the box's extension was under the Brigade's control. The hijackers nervously observed this contention between the virtual singer and the internet meme, but the two contesting groups were able to come to an agreement and a collaboration. Our Hatsune and our Nyan place agreed upon our artwork with Miku riding the Nyan cat into space. Our Shoujo Kakume Utena, representing the manga and anime series with the same name, joined in with their monkey Choo Choo. The artworks were merged into the 2017 art by extending Nyan Cat's rainbow into the background of Sakura and Flandre's tiles. There were several suggestions to place the rainbow-themed Shimada Tenkyu, the god of the unknown, on the rainbow. This combined with a call for a Chirino Fumo. Fumo, summarizing them very briefly, are
we got our
plush dolls.
Where? Oh, we got a Puma?
The combination resulted in the proposal of placing a Chimata Fumo on the rainbow. The popularity of the Fumo Fumo Plus series led to many proposals to build Fumos over time, but this was the only one that gained serious traction in the form of custom pixel art. Bupilus prepared art of the Chimata Fumo, but the momentum crumbled and Chimata would not be built. However, the Hatsune and Nyan collaboration still made a great addition to the ever-shining 2017 mural. Harusame Soup, builder of the smallest on Day 2 in what used to be the American flag, began another project. Soup had designed a mini version of the fairy Dayose, modeled after Mini Chimino. The two fairies are considered friends of the fandom, and it would be fitting to have both of them in their mini versions on the canvas. After trying many different spots, Soup eventually succeeded at a location above the Ukrainian flag. Soup later added the character Dai from Dayose's name, the flag of Japan, and the JP abbreviation for Japan to the fairy's humble dwelling. Soup had intended for the project to be a secret project for people to find out the map themselves, so, hidden away from friendly eyes, the cruel canvas silently swept Mini Dai and her homely corner away into oblivion. DMJ654, a station staff member at the Touhou music radio station Gensokyo Radio, had been very enthusiastic about our place in the Gensokyo Radio Discord server. After DMJ654 got the rest of the server riled up about projects such as Romanian Alice, station staff Lunar Spotlight proposed building the Gensokyo Radio logo somewhere in the canvas, providing a pixel design. The radio group had attempted to build a logo at the bottom left corner during the second expansion, a corner quickly overwhelmed by the infamous giant French flag. The group then turned to the Touhou ArtPlace server for support. DMJ654's request to build the logo was approved by poll. The idea was that it would replace the yin-yang symbol, but the logo ended up going over the 01 and the error was not fixed. Regardless of this unfortunate miscoordination, the logo was still built, representing the 11-year-old station. The banner text at the bottom of the 2017 artwork underwent some alterations as well. The Hijack in R Touhou Hijack was removed by the coordinators since R Touhou Hijack led to a dead subreddit to some controversy, as people were quite partial to the phrase Touhou Hijack LOL, which was both iconic and used in the original 2017 art. This did open up a spot for a faction that had waited a long time for representation. Fans of the fighting spin-off game Touhou 12.3, Hisu Tensoku, or simply Soku. They made their first request during the construction of the PCB trio to go over the Marvel text, but hours later they still had not found an opportunity to get their name inscribed on the canvas. Sonic, the main Soku representative in the Touhou ArtPlace server, submitted artist Dabam's Soku design for the now empty space in the 2017 mural. It featured a simplified version of the Hiso Tensoku app icon and the text Soku. The logo and name was approved and integrated in the 2017 design, and the Soku fans could finally rest, having been represented in the Great Mosaic. The hijackers would always be greedily watching the canvas for open spaces and potential collaborations. One such space was made by R Philippines, who had carved out a nice pink segment of the board. The hijackers naturally jumped forth at the opportunity. Which Touhou character would fit well with the Philippines? Hijacker Delta Phi, wonder who that is, suggested the Filipino Pizza Aya, referencing an incident where Filipino actress Clea Pineda cosplayed Aya Shamimaru, the traditional reporter of fantasy, while making pizza without an oven on Filipino educational TV show I Believe.
Ta-da! Voila! Meron na tayong pizza sandwich!
With this idea in hand and rather poorly self-made Aya pixel art, Delta Phi secured approval from the Philippines to place Aya as a passenger on their empty jeepney, which the people of the Philippines wanted to fill up. Aya became an officially endorsed indie project by the Jade through being added into the spreadsheet, and followers of the Touhou Hijack LOL account run by Delta Phi helped construct the Aya. There was a near collision with the artwork of R Nesoberi, a subreddit dedicated to a type of plush dolls, which in this case was building a Nesoberi version of Yu Takasaki from Japanese idol series Love Live. R Nesoberi graciously moved downwards to accommodate Aya. Aside from the small incident, the Crow Tengu journalist was finished without much difficulty. However, few hijackers recognized the rather enigmatic piece of art, especially because her hair was based on the cosplayer's brown hair instead of canon Aya's black hair. And that, together with her being far too isolated from all Touhou sectors, meant that she did not have much support. Filipino Pizza Aya degraded into a Among Us crewmate and eventually disintegrated under the heads of various Minecraft YouTubers, though a few of her pixels still remain on the final canvas. Though not exactly Touhou, members of the subculture
Cookie had some artworks as well. Cookie's art place efforts were organized by a group on Chinese messaging servers QQ, managed by one Colossus, with their plans being relayed to the English Cookie art place Discord server. The relationship between Touhou and Cookie is very complicated and is outside the scope of this video, but all that needs to be known for art purposes is that the designs of Cookie characters are based on Touhou characters with some noticeable differences. The first plan was to build miniature art of the character DUC as a placeholder for a larger DUC artwork by artist Mian Yun Ili. This plan was overwhelmed by the pufferfish pond. The Cookie Group blamed their lack of success on disorganization. The Cookie Groups reorganized by establishing a clearer command structure and aggressively recruiting on both the Chinese and English sides. The reshuffle breathed new life into the faction, and after another failed DUC occupation to the bottom left of the Osu hit circle, Cookie Art Place proceeded to set its eyes on a new project. A bit named Rue from this video, near the Star Wars Battle of the Heroes mural. This attempt was quite successful, despite the efforts of a small number of anti-Cookie Touhou fans. It's complicated and I am not talking about it. Cookie expanded for their art a bit named Rue by adding text reading EO, the aforementioned planned DUC artwork with text reading Cookie, DUC's iconic traffic rod, which coincidentally matched with the Star Wars art, the broken heart cookie symbol of the subculture, and the text 1919 or Iku Iku in Japanese. It is worth noting that the Hijack Brigade was mostly unaware of Cookie's actions during Art Place, so this was yet another group operating independently at the Touhou Art Place server. This is because the two communities are disconnected, and while some hijackers panning the canvas may have discovered the Cookie artworks and wondered what art that looked like Touhou characters was doing there, it wasn't noticed by a significant portion of the brigade. Anyways, with their spot near the dual Mustafa art complete, Cookie Art Place spent the rest of the event maintaining the area and was among the Art Place 2022 finalists. The Marishead Art Place server undertook big endeavors once the canvas expanded. After the small Marishead design naturally expanded what the canvas did, the server set its sights on a big Marishead design to be built in the pufferfish pond. The small Marishead was subsequently destroyed by XQC's clearance of the area for the Kobe Bryant mural, and the big Marishead by Argentine streamer Spreen's construction of the Me Sirve meme over the pond, although not without resistance noticeable even to the streamer himself.
Espera, boludo, arriba está el dibujito ese tipo bruja.
Sí.
¿Eso lo van a pintar o no?
No. Ni idea, nada, igual tipo lo vamos a hacer pija.
Sí, va a quedar hecho pija igual por el pelo, creo. O el pelo
sí,
no les toca ahí.
El pelo le toca, el pelo le toca. Ey, la están defendiendo la brujita esa, ¿eh? Pero que se dé cuenta que estamos haciendo un maldito pesiro y se va a tener que ir a la mierda.
¿Ah, la defienden?
Sí, igual se va a tener que ir a la mierda. Cuando viene un dibujo así grande que impone tanto respeto, yo creo que tenés que irte a la mierda. O sea, no hay chance. No podés contraatacar.
Despite the setback, the Marishead crew did not give up, and set off on a second big Marishead attempt below the Berlin Among Us victory column near the PCB trio, quite successfully. An extremely simplified version of the Marishead flag was added to top off the artwork. Despite border skirmishes with the Canadians, this Marishead survived to the very end without any large incidents. Attention was pulled away to the other side of the canvas as Touhou's old enemy XQC raised the torrent of the void once more. Beginning at the foxhole, the streamer maneuvered the path of his army to jump between areas with high concentrations of black pixels, hopping from artwork to artwork. XQC's black void crept its way to the Koshi blob, bringing back memories of the death of Reimu and Miku underneath XQC's purple void. Hijacker Not Nazarene announced DEFCON statuses as the server was put on high alert, the void flowing ever closer.
Koshi might get destroyed.
Oh no, he's going.
She's going
right
there.
Boom, push it.
But she has does she have black?
No, of course she does.
Right, the SpongeBob eyes. Oh no. Yeah, we're dead.
No, they're going for SpongeBob Boo-Womp. No.
Koshi's gone.
Koshi's neighbor, Bwomp Bob, began to be attacked by the Void, with many expecting the Void to hungrily reach further to plunge the precious younger Komeiji sister into an eternal death at the feet of the Quebecois streamer. But in a miracle, XQC moved his army to start another branch of the Void, saving Koshi and making Bwomp Bob a martyr. The brigade exhaled a sigh of relief until...
He's going to the black
Wait, they're making a square. They're making a square? Are they going around? They're going around happy?
They're going around.
Oh,
no.
Oh, that might miss us. Wait, that might miss us.
Oh no, PCB!
Miss us.
Okay,
wait.
Okay, that might nick us.
Okay,
that's gonna hit us.
Not giving the brigade a moment of rest, XQC's new branch sped toward the territory of Spanish streamer Axazer. The logo had a black background, a conspicuous bullseye for the XQC hive mind to take over, and in an ill twist of fate, the PCB show was sitting right to the left, with nothing but the lesbian flag and the Berlin Among Us victory column separating the brigade from their old enemy. The server was on DEFCON 1 as the void reached downwards past Happy. With a ping to be on guard, the server watched intently as the void just missed the PCB show in one of the greatest grazes of our place. Having hit a large amount of resistance and seeing the previously formed tendrils of his void weakening, XQC moved his void northwards out of the PCB Trio's region. The incident served as a welcome boost to the hijackers' morale. Revitalized, they once again embarked on the quest of building in the name of Touhou.
Treceți, batalioane, române, și
With hijackers from every sector witnessing in horror the maddening tenacity of the road Peruvians, the Battle of Bad Apple was regarded as the biggest collective defeat. Never had their crusade been so abruptly squashed by an apparently unstoppable force, and the Nidorin Bad Apple sector was not just one of the major holdings, it was their first conquest. Though the battle had been declared lost, resistance gathered upon the front line, awaiting redemption for their devastation at the hands of the Cyan Horde. Throughout the hours, hijackers had been probing by placing pixels to contaminate the Peruvian sky, desperately trying to find a moment of weakness. When an incursion on the Bad Apple front remained strong, hijackers realized an opening in the Peruvian front. The miracle happened not on the front line, but deep inside the contested territory. Some members of the brigade were expanding the cloud in Machu Picchu's sky to create the Bad Apple scene. Aided by intel from diplomat Kapamari about the anticipated time that the streamer would go offline at, the garrison knew that it was time to strike back. Meanwhile, since the first battle, diplomatic exchanges had also been happening. While leadership from both the Hijack Brigade and our Peru were in agreement that the old border must be reinstated, the average Peruvians were divided by the issue, with some seeing Touhou's recapture as an invasion. Peruvian diplomat Cherno, dispatched from Peru due to being a Touhou fan as well, delivered our Peru's stipulations, which was for Machu Picchu and the Peruvian flag to be left alone during the recapture efforts. The protocol was test set, and after 40 minutes of steady progress via the supposed cloud, hijackers finally reached through from Bad Apple proper, with the sky shackling Nidori thrown off soon after in a flood of color, commencing the recapture of Nidori and Bad Apple. During the operation, a few hijackers vandalized the Peruvian flag out of bitterness, but most respected the Peruvian protocol. After another hour, the sector was fully restored with its black background, and the two artworks once again stood proudly in the center of the first quadrant. To further confirm the commitment of the two sides to a new peace, all existing parts in the Nidori and Bad Apple artwork were adorned with the Peruvian colors of red and white. The recaptured Nidori and Bad Apple served as a defining moment of the hijackers' defiance, with neighboring parties taking advantage of the faltering Peruvians to reclaim what had been taken away from them by the greedy few. The recapture was celebrated with mighty cheers, yet the echoing gallops of the Horsemen of War still reverberated across the canvas. From the time of the construction of the PCB Trio, several hijackers were interested in collaborating with our Place Start's Windows taskbar by building the icon of one of the Touhou games. The two main candidates were the icons of Touhou 6 Embodiment Scarlet Devil, EOSD, and Touhou 7 Perfect Cherry Blossom, PCB, both featuring Marisa Kurisame, with the EOSD icon selected fairly easily as EOSD is the most iconic game. Roger22 put together a RPlace Bullet version of the icon, with Touhou diplomat Casey submitting an application in RPlaceStar's Discord server. Despite the early application and the ensuing acceptance into the taskbar, Touhou was excluded from the window taskbar template for not building the EOSD icon right after the expansion since the brigade was busy somewhere else.
Guys, big news. Apparently we are on the start bottom taskbar.
Windows taskbar.
Windows taskbar? Okay.
What about them?
Okay.
Where is it? Where are we putting foot on it?
Officially.
In diplomacy.
Okay. Well, that's great. We still need to figure out what we're doing with Bad Apple and Nidori right now.
Contributing to further delays was the time it took to transfer the taskbar icon into the spreadsheet.
So, can we do Marisa on Windows taskbar?
We just need the spreadsheet. Someone needs to do the spreadsheet, and then
I'm on the stream and NXQC's attack on France, causing instability in the region that the brigade's assigned place on the taskbar was.
Hey guys, by the way, the Marisa, the OCD icon in the search taskbar is ready to go. We're just waiting the raid to be over.
Exactly.
We're waiting for XQC to just piss off.
Yeah.
The designated spot for the EOSD icon had also been overrun by manga letters writing out League of Legends. Touhou was still persistent and was eventually reinstated as work finally began on the EOSD icon. However, there was still a problem in the form of League. In addition to manpower scarcity caused by the simultaneous recapture of Nidori and Bad Apple, the Hijack Brigade had to overcome the bots, maintaining the misaligned League icon that was cutting into Touhou's designated spot. This led to a rather amusing scene of only the right half of the EOSD icon being built. After being informed of the issue, League attempted to move but found themselves blocked by RPlaceD's overly large box maintained by independent Germans and bots. The Brigade let the issue rest for about 5 hours as they waited for a definite solution to the situation. The Windows taskbar managers eventually selected a new place for Touhou. This time, right at the icons of VTuber agencies Hololive, Ninsanji, and VShojo, the Touhou 6 icon fit right into the slot. No misalignment issues this time, and while experiencing some resistance, the icon was finished relatively easily in comparison to the previous location. After a brief color change to the border to make the icon deselected in the taskbar, the EOSD icon was complete and remained unbothered, sitting upon the same taskbar that it released on in 2002. The Armenians called for help once more. After relocating next to Greece and Portugal, they once again found themselves haunted by Shumir Drop-Him-Off and his Deo fanbase. The Destroyers, the first Armenian flag. The streamer crushed the flag with a giant base, but with the help of the Brigade, the Armenians recaptured it, except in smaller form due to the arrival of QR codes in the runes. The Armenians were then struck by Azeri TikToker as a Nuri. The latter carved out the number 44, referring to the 44-day-long Second Nagorno-Karabakh War between Armenia and Azerbaijan. The attack was eventually repelled. After surviving 2 attempts at vanquishment with Touhou's assistance, the Armenian territory near the QR codes made it to the final canvas. The old diplomatic connections with Team Fortress 2 were called upon for an attempt at a collaboration. This new project involved Touhou and Team Fortress 2 building a joint artwork of Touhou's Minariko Aki, the symbol of abundance and harvest, and Team Fortress 2's Medic, referencing the October 1st meme, a YTPMV of Medic singing Minariko's theme because Princess Inada is scolding me. A poll was held in Touhou Art Play server to decide the Minariko design. The decision was between one of Minariko's costumes in Pokemon-style fan game Touhou Puppet Dance Performance, a variation of one of those costumes with a gap added by artist not CJ, and Minariko's Gensokyo Night Festival sprite. The second option was selected by the vote in the Touhou server and would be developed further by not CJ with the addition of a beer glass in Minariko's hand. The natural spot would be the German flag due to the medic being German, but the proposals failed the ArtPlace.de vote. Coordinator Cherries pushed for trying to build the collaboration in a new location, but the attempt was called off due to the failure of Team Fortress 2 to provide a one-to-one medic artwork for the overlay in a timely manner, as well as general infeasibility. Back at the PCB trio, yet another change of neighbors was happening. The flag of Morocco expanded eastwards, at least partly through the efforts of streamer Marraine53, overrunning the previous neighbors of OGT and making contact with the Brigade's borders. Moroccan diplomat TST56 arrived to request a alliance with the new neighbors. Despite protests from OTT, mutual recognition was reached with the new regional power. The previous agreement with OTT, which not many in the Touhou Art Play server cared about, was effectively nullified. The Brigade would not risk the PCB trio in a war to protect a group that they only had a very shaky connection with. Plans were made for collaboration with Morocco by building a preferably red and green character to match the colors of the Moroccan banner. Hong Meiling, Hina Kageyama, and Yuka Kazami were all proposed. Meiling was not an option due to being very blatantly Chinese, while Hina, a misfortune goddess, was probably not a good gesture and was somewhat more unpopular than the other characters, which left Yuka Kazami, the flower master of the Four Seasons, as the only option. Artist not CJ made a little Yuka artwork to be built, but it did not go through due to the alliance being relatively new and heavy streamer involvement, most significantly from Marraine53, preventing projects of our Morocco from being implemented. The Morocco-Touhou alliance was dubious. There was a diplomatic incident when Marraine53 expanded Moroccan territory into How to Train Your Dragon, who was a neighbor with the initial Our Touhou banner and an ally of Touhou to the Osu coalition. This shaky relationship was further put into question when rumors of an Algerian attack began to be sown in the Touhou Hijack Brigade server. Moroccan diplomat Pantaroma had warned the Touhou server that the Algerians, who are apparently, and I quote, the natural enemies of the Moroccans, had been planning a false flag attack in the Algerian voice channel. The
The Algerians had reportedly planned on disguising themselves with the dark red colors of the Moroccan flag, while expanding their own green and white flag. The Algerian server naturally denied this, prompting suggestions that these rumors may have been spread by Morocco to cover up a Moroccan invasion of the PCB show. Regardless, there was no major invasion, and the brigade generally blamed the Algerians for the diplomatic chaos, leaving Morocco as a friendly faction despite the circumstances. cynicalsix created a heart to represent the alliance, and while Touhou built its side quite fine, our Morocco failed to build their portion despite their best efforts. Again, likely due to streamer involvement blocking out projects to the subreddit. Morocco remained as a very unusual ally for the rest of the event. With the big Murasad next to the Canadians completed, the Murasad R-Place server sought to replace the destroyed small Murasad design. Several members of Murasad R-Place decided to build in the top right of the Masirve artwork while it was being retaken by the pufferfish pond. After coordinator Chirano pinged to endorse this independent attempt, the Murasad crew annexed an unknown logo appearing to contain the Universal S. Small Murasad would stand there in the chaos until she was flooded once the pufferfish pond finally rebuilt. The server tried their luck again at the Rick Astley artwork next to One Piece. This location finally worked, and Small Murasad with her new friend Tomoko Kuroki from R. Watamote lived quite happily for a while. Small Sanae, on the other hand, had died a slow and agonizing death. The Iaurein school in France built over her top half, while Moroccan IT school 1337 destroyed her legs. Small Sane died alone, since most resources were focused on Big Sane. What little pixels remained of the tiny priestess after her destruction at the hands of higher education were wiped out by the expansion of the Moroccan flag, burying Big Sane's progenitor into the coffin of history, draped in a dark red funeral sheet. The Gacha Alliance had been working with their size constraints. With several communities unable to be built at their full size, concessions had to be made with the already built icons. The main proposal was placing smaller icons on the edges of the various larger icons. This was the arrangement for gacha games Azure Lane and Umamusume Pretty Derby. Now, the Hijack Brigade had been quite uninvolved with the Gacha Alliance so far, with the original diplomat Cherries being uncommunicative to the Alliance, leading to confusion in the UGA due to the lack of contact. Touhou diplomat AZ, whose introduction to Touhou was lost word, was motivated by the lack of progress by official coordination towards adding Scarlet Marissa and arrived at the Gacha Alliance server to move the stalled project forward. At this point, Gacha game Punishing Grey Raven was also negotiating for a spot. Initially proposing the standard smaller box, the PGR proposal evolved into a diamond shape in order to not take up as much space from the icons that would be donating land. The plan was to build a diamond on the intersection between Girls Frontline, Arknights, Poland Ball, and Fate Grand Order. AZ arrived just in time to negotiate with PGR to share the diamond spot. Hence, Scarlet Marissa was joined on the left by Lucia Plume, designed by PGR representative Aqua, whose ice theming contrasted nicely with the fire-themed Scarlet Marissa. After supposedly obtaining permission from Girls Frontline, Arknights, and Fate Grand Order, the only step left was to obtain permission from Poland Ball to build in their square, a task that proved to be surprisingly difficult. AZ went on a Discord hunt, eventually getting help from Peacemaker of our Genshin place, who relayed the necessary communications. Once approval from all the factions that were giving up land was confirmed, the Gacha Alliance gave Touhou and PGR the official go-ahead. There was one problem. Arknights hadn't actually approved, with Arknights representatives Funji and Shinoda informing the Touhou diplomats of the error after construction began, expressing disappointment at the lack of assistance and communication from the Touhou R-Place server during the beginning hours of the second expansion, a result of the aforementioned leap of Cherries, the main diplomat to the Gacha Alliance. Ultimately, this is a lesson in the confusion that arises from R-Place politics when not everyone is on the same page. The Arknights leaders nevertheless graciously allowed Scarlet Marissa to stay due to her already being built, and the members of the Arknights R-Place server approved Scarlet Marissa's residence by vote. The Witch of Scarlet Dreams resided in her half of the diamond for the time being. Though the recapture, Nidorin Bad Apple, was by all metrics a resounding success, there was nothing stopping the opposing force from re-attempting the annexation. Eventually, they returned. More than 4 hours after the Hijack Brigade's victory, the stage was set for the second battle of Bad Apple, beginning with the invasions of Project Moon and Bluey. Once the cyan pixels were spotted yet again on Bad Apple, hijackers sounded the alarm. Readiness across the front was pushed to overdrive, with hijackers from different areas converging toward the battlefield. What happened after was some of the most intense conflict in the history of Touhou R-Place, as the brigade desperately fought the Peruvian streamers' offensive. Such steadfastness only further solidified when a false rumor of R-Place ending at the stroke of the hour was spread amongst the hijackers. Though R-Place did not end at the rumored time, neither did the cosmic clash of blue, black, and white pixels. The brigade was determined to prevent their beloved
Kappa and music video from being sliced in half once again, but the dark side of fate was not kind to them. As the second Battle of Bad Apple reached its climax, the second Polish-Romanian War began, with the Romanians facing even more opposition than the last time. Upon viewing the extent of the previous Polish invasion, Polish streamer Popo declared a war of reclamation and turned his army onto the main Romanian flag, joined by other Polish streamers such as Paris Platonov and Young Multi, among others. This invasion was much to the chagrin of our Poland and our Polska, who wanted nothing to do with it. Pulsating white ulcers burst upon the flag of Romania as the Romanians and the Hijack Brigade desperately tried to beat them back into the tricolor that had stood strong on the canvas before.
Celem jest kurwa ta dziewczynka i jej kurwa koleżanki. Celować działa w dziewczynkę. Cel! Pal!
The Poles, however, were too strong due to multiple streamer armies. Despite the best efforts of our Romanian Touhou, Alice quickly disintegrated into dust as Popo directly targeted her. The war's concurrence with the second Battle of Bad Apple brought the brigade to its knees, and the rest of the Romanian flag followed Alice into the grave, for good this time. The Romanians fought desperately, futilely placing blue, yellow, and red pixels on the white and red banner of Poland, trying to relocate somewhere else, and even resorting to some ignoble tactics. Romanian diplomat and leader Prodigy announced the fall of Romania. Prodigy saluted the brigade for their support as the nation of Romania faded into the pages of history. The Romanian spirit, however, never truly died. Blue, yellow, and red still burst forth in spots on the Polish flag to harass the invaders long after the war was over. Struck by overwhelming power on multiple fronts, the brigade ran out of reserves and had to be content with shifting around what little forces it still had left to cut losses. After the Romanian fortress began to crumble, coordination made the hard decision to reallocate forces to the Bad Apple theater, as the heartland of Hungary and Bad Apple was considered a higher priority than Romanian Alice, which was a collaboration. But even the singular focus on holding back the sky proved insufficient, and 90 minutes after the rogue Peruvians began their dreaded march, the southern half of Hungary and Bad Apple fell under Peruvian control. In the meantime, the Koishi blob faced peril as well. She faced an incursion by controversial streaming network IP2 a few hours earlier, but was now under attack by the computer science house at the Rochester Institute of Technology, which was building their logo over and over and over.
Bruh, that's my university. Oh my god, let me go yell at them.
Hijacker and RIT student AZ attempted to track down the group, who had naturally locked their server doors in anticipation of people yelling at them. AZ went to the Gacha Alliance to request help, but the request was denied on account of a gigantic void just forming about the alliance. The computer scientists won temporarily, but the brigade was able to fend them off, and Koichi was restored anew in the next 4 hours. But with the situation turning so rapidly against the hijackers, morale hit rock bottom, as the costliest phase of the Touhou R-Play's hijacking adventure dragged on and on and on. There were likely many independent botters protecting their own favorite Touhou artworks during our place, though of course we have no way of actually knowing the extent of them. One of these was hijacker Panda Kekok 9. Though initially reluctant to deploy automation on the canvas, Panda was convinced of the need for bots during the first Battle of Bad Apple, though initially wanting bot efforts to be restrained to individual botters away from the bullhorns of coordination. The second Battle of Bad Apple convinced Panda to bring the machine of war to the forefront of the battle. As Atlas's strength began to crumble against the heavy sky, Coordinator Cherries proposed the official implementation of bots in the Hijack Brigade. This radical suggestion had a supermajority of positive responses, yet it never did any good in raising morale, as bots were commonly seen as foul play, even among those who supported incorporating bots into the brigade's forces. While some hijackers still wished to maintain dignity in combat, the collapsing defense on the Nidori and Bad Apple front, blamed on Peruvian bots, convinced many hijackers to support bot usage under the belief that it was idiotic to bring a knife to a gunfight. Touhou's desperate calls for help during the second Battle of Bad Apple were heard in all allied communities, and hijackers who were in multiple communities, even those that weren't allied with Touhou, still spread the word. Diplomat Kutako hails from a community memorializing a musician and artist whose name they have requested to keep anonymous out of respect. Hijacker Orion Jaj spread the call for help there, and Kutako responded, arriving in time to witness the bot proposal. Kutayoko and Pandakekok9 began official bot coordination in a thread using the generic Reddit Play script 2022. This script took a TXT list of alternate accounts with credentials and a PNG with a pixel map. The script scanned the part of the canvas in question and compared it to the given image, placed a pixel to fix the discrepancy, and then cycled to the next alternate account on the list. As a generic script, it wasn't very efficient, but it was better than nothing. Panda suggested calling upon the community to provide alternate accounts, asking coordinator Liam to create the Reddit accounts channel. The bot creator role was made, officially opening up the bot branch. Hijackers contributed by creating tons and tons of email-verified alternate accounts for usage by those running the script. Soon enough, the autonomous units were docked in the designated area, Nitori and Bad Apple, to help bolster the faltering frontline. But lack of coordination led to complications like misalignments and unclear orders. New glimpse of hope by doing the unthinkable was swiftly shattered when the implementation of advanced warfare proved indecisive in the battlefield. The Brigade began to lose hope on winning the war for Nitori and Bad Apple, having faced far too powerful of an army to continue fighting on. Knowing that the rogue Peruvians only wanted an even sky and were not going to try to conquer the rest of Nitori and Bad Apple, the Brigade felt comfortable with putting a pause on the fighting to focus on other projects and defenses. The hijackers changed the priority to fixing damage and holding on to the new border until a second recapture was made possible. In all the chaos of the war and anti-Peruvian rhetoric, it should be noted that there was great conflict between various Peruvian factions such as Our Peru, Andy Insane, El Canita, and La Frente Army, among others. Despite Our Peru stating that the sky should not be expanded, many Peruvians did not listen. La Frente Army, Andy Insane's fan server, was quite conflicted on the invasion as well, with many calling for a halt of the expanding sky. Our Peru stood strongest by the Brigade, forming a coalition with Our Place UK, Our Bluey, and Our Touhou, all within Machu Picchu's periphery, to bald the art of the Peruvian Shiver Andy Insane in hopes that this would distract his fans from attacking Bad Apple and Nitori. Though Andy Insane was significantly balded, the attack was not enough to fully overpower the art or weaken the Peruvian offensive at Machu Picchu. Nitori and Bad Apple remained cut in half, as Reddit tolled the bells for the fourth time, bringing a Brigade worn out by ceaseless conflict into the final day. Depleted of just about everything following the constant confrontations from enemies, no major projects were undertaken by the Touhou Hijack Brigade in the final hours of Our Place. Nevertheless, the faction remained active to seal their legacy during the biggest pixel war on the internet. Fake Grand Order diplomat Kino dutifully watched the going-ons of the various factions within the Gacha Alliance. Kino took note of Touhou's minimal representation and considered the current arrangement as being unsatisfactory because it made the artworks too small to be recognized. Kino was also sympathetic to Touhou's plight against various attackers and noted to advocate for them when the opportunity came. That opportunity arrived in the form of Russian sheeper Deepins, who flung a giant can of the soft drink Dr. Pepper upon the region just above the Gacha Alliance, demolishing the artworks in the nearby region first with the Black Void and then with the actual can. With streamer forces moving to only protect the can, the old black background began to be claimed by the many miscellaneous land scavengers of Our Place. Kino called for Touhou to be given the empty spot adjacent to the Alliance, which was currently demarcating it with gold lines. This would allow Touhou to build a full-size artwork next to the Gacha Alliance. A Fumo artwork was unseriously thrown around and rejected because the only real option was the full Scarlet Marissa icon. This would also give Punishing Grey Raven the full diamond to use, making everyone a winner. Ironically, the people most opposed to the plan was the Hijack Brigade. The Hijackers, having been devastated by the defeat in the Second Battle of Bad Apple and the Polish eradication of Romania, alongside the ongoing defense of the Koshi blob from the computer science house at RIT, believed that the move would take too many resources and wasn't worth the effort. Some hijackers also believed that their pixels would simply be replaced by streamer fans maintaining a pointless black background, which was not an unreasonable fear in light of the Peruvian incident. The Gacha Alliance stressed that they would only back Touhou for the spot if the Brigade was fully committed to taking over the area.
So Touhou group, what you're gonna do is that once you are ready to go, which I would recommend you be soon, you tell everyone, you send out the notification, you tell the whole chair committee, and we'll help you get in on that. But until we get that word from you, we are going to be 100% focused on the defense of our other allies. So you can't really expect us to be setting up the prep. I'm just going to let you know, okay?
Despite AZ's efforts, the hijackers were fairly unconvinced. It seemed that Scarlet Marissa remained confined within her diamond, until Coordinator Hyper Cecil 101 arrived, moving everyone back onto the stage for stronger coordination. Cecil was in favor of the project and pinged for the move, throwing their support behind the new endeavor. Arknight's representative Shinoda expressed confusion at the duplicate Marissa being built up on the territory of Arknights. Unbeknownst to the Hijack Brigade and the Gacha Alliance itself, Arknights had been planning to build their long-awaited lapdom emote in the exact same spot that the Lost Word icon was moving to. However, because this project was a secret one that was not relayed to the Alliance, Arknights called off the project as they conceded that they had not officially claimed the territory with the Alliance. AZ's hard efforts finally paid off.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you go to bed, bud. Thank you for
Oh no, I want to make sure the Marissa gets done.
Got you.
I've worked too hard for this to see it not completed in front of my own eyes.
During Scarlet Marissa's move, Touhou supported the Gacha Alliance against the false flag invasion of Russian streamer 5optica, who spread Argentine blue into the mural. From then on, the move was completed, and Punishing Grey Raven built the character Alpha to replace Scarlet Marissa's old spot. However, since Scarlet Marissa was inconveniently located above the rest of the artworks, the Lost Sword icon was left out of many screenshots of the Gacha Alliance. Regardless, Touhou was still a part of the grand collaboration that founder Padosab was pleasantly surprised at, and Touhou Lost Word continues to be a part of the United Gacha Alliance server to this day. Touhou has a lot of influence in other game series. One of the most directly inspired and thus one of the more connected is Lennon, which is also a shoot 'em up game in the same vein as Touhou. Lennon fans have been trying to independently build their Eye of Senri as symbol of their series, but due to having a rather modest workforce of around 5 users, they could never build anything recognizable. Their attempt to build the character Subakura in Raku in the bottom left corner of the second expansion was more successful, though they were not able to hold the territory in the face of our My Place, which subdued the area with an artwork of the character Mai Sakurajima from Japanese series Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai. After these failures, Lennon diplomat Bugenri arrived at the Touhou Our Place server to suggest placing the Eye of Senri in the remains of Bad Apple. The Brigade was still holding on to hope for Bad Apple there, so Bugenri was offered a spot in the PCB trio, where the Eye eventually found a home between Yuyuko and Yukari amongst friendly Gabais. Bugenri reciprocated the favor.
I appreciate you letting us have the space.
Yeah,
just as a treat, I will say whatever you want in the voice of Solid Snake.
They, Raiden, we have to go to McDonald's. They forgot my Szechuan sauce.
Raiden, I have to go to McDonald's. They forgot my Szechuan sauce.
Oh, it's so good.
That's really impressive.
good.
That's super impressive. That's really
Colonel.
good.
I need you to pick me up from school. Like I'm a nerd.
Can you say Colonel, can you come to my PTA meeting? I got a bad English grade.
I got a bad what?
I got a bad grade on my English exam.
Colonel, I need you to come to my PTA meeting. I got a bad grade on my English exam.
With the bots backfiring by duplicating Nidori's hat front template misalignment error, and the Peruvians having a death grip upon their 492 extra pixels of mildly cloudy sky, the Brigade steadily lost hope of recapturing the lost territory. Artist Sakia Izaya created a redesign of Nidori and Bad Apple that fit in the territory that remained, with Roger 22 doing palette adjustments. With Coordination approving the redesign, Touhou officially ceded the southern portion of Nidori and Bad Apple to Peru, ending hostilities in the Peruvian theater.
Nagare-teku, Toki no naka de demo, kedarusa ga hora guru guru mawate, watashi hara hanareru tokoro mo mienai wa so shiranai.
The redesign featured Nidori lying down in a much more cramped box, and an eaten apple core as seen in the Bad Apple video. Most accepted the redesign, but some in the Brigade refused to stand down. Hijacker Rummy famously declared,
I am disappointed that you all gave up. But I will continue fighting the helpless fight until I perish alone, surrounded by enemies. I will die a martyr, and you will feel shame that you abandoned the greater cause. My struggle will be in vain, but only because you have betrayed us all. Remember what we are doing this for. We are doing it for Bad Apple. We are doing it for Nitori. We are doing it for the Touhou that we love. For the Touhou that Soon has created. and the Touhou community has shaped. Never forget why we are all here together, fighting this fight. Remember that our cause is just, and remember that our goal is not negotiable. When an enemy attacks, we defend, because defending Midori and Bad Apple is the same as defending the entirety of Touhou. So I ask you all, do not give up. Continue the fight. Bring back the old templates and fight back the Peruvians. We must not falter.
This became a very popular copypasta meme within the server, and Rummy eventually received the special celebrity role. Much to the dismay of Rummy, the redesign was built, and Midori remains there in the final canvas, watching over broken dreams. The Marisad Art Place server was celebrating the construction and survival of 2 different Marisad artworks, when members noticed a gradually growing amount of white pixels on the small Marisad next to One Piece. This Marisad server's low manpower was not enough to repel what they realized was a streamer attack, and they watched in horror alongside our Watamote as small Marisad and Tomoko were slain by streamer Gozex and his buddy Emote. The Marisad builders helped our Watamote move Tomoko, a process that would unfortunately not be completed before the canvas closed. With no time for the server to retake the small Marisad, the big Marisad had to carry the sorrowful spirit onto the final canvas. Throughout all this, the bot branch was working to make the most of the little time they had. Botters PandaKitcock 9 and Kutaiko brought on hijacker Sayonarix to lead the operation as Panda retired for the night. Other bot operators such as Memoji, Deepao, CyberPoet64, and Fortechnica joined the branch as well. The bot branch was first deployed on Midori and Bad Apple, but were called off because of the redesign. From then on, the branch defended the 2017 region, including Big Sunny. The main problem was ironically the presence of so many botters, since they all used the same set of bots created by the Hijack Brigade. The script of a botter occasionally accessed the bot that was already on cooldown, having been used by another botter script. This led to errors, slowdowns, and the occasional banning of an account. After requesting coordinator Liam to ping for more alternate accounts, the bot developer talk channel was created to form a line of communication between the script runners and the coordinators. There were 2 attempts to distribute the around 230 alternate accounts that were made into groups to prevent errors. Sayonarix distributed 229 accounts into 5 groups, each were botter assigned to a different coordinator given region. 1 to the revised Midori and Bad Apple, 1 to Scarlet Marissa, and 3 to 2017 and Big Sunny. However, as Sayonarix was distributing the lists, the canvas ended. The bot branch certainly made themselves useful by maintaining the artworks during the little time they had. The Hijack Brigade's artworks, like the vast majority of the artworks on the canvas, were constantly plagued by Amongai infestations.
I'm gonna be honest, what I've been using my most recent squares on is just adding little Amoguses to the Touhou sprites.
Good.
Oh, you! It was you!
It was you!
Every artwork was likely vandalized within Among Us at some point, though these minor incidents were fixed quite promptly. There were many hidden Amongai, but some were more blatant, such as a growing Amongai tower below the PCB trio. Hijacker the Ram XD created an artwork of Suika Ibuki, the free-spirited Oni, as an Among Us crewmate, to be placed in the PCB trio in response to the nearby tower. The space-faring Suika resided in the lower right corner next to Yukari. A poll was held to choose what order future Touhou Among Us characters should be built in, though Suika was the only one built before the canvas closed. And so, a dream that started with the proposal to place Suika in the German flag was realized in the fullness of time, albeit in a manner that was quite suspicious. With the armies of Polish streamers having eradicated both of the large Romanian flags on the canvas, Hijacker Everia suggested painting the text reading Our Touhou in the 2017 art with the colors of the Romanian flag as a memorial to their fallen comrades. Diplomat Trandere, representing Romania and Armenia, suggested for the colors of the flag of Armenia to be added as well, but this did not pan out due to the horizontal Armenian flag not lending itself well to the design. Discussion led to the decision to make the letters alternate in colors rather than bunched together to prevent a last-minute Polish attack that the Hijack Brigade could not recover from. With the text dutifully recolored
colored in the iconic blue, yellow, and red, the friendship between Romania and Touhou was immortalized in one final testament, as the unconquerable spirit of Bucharest lives on as one of the many co-finalists on the 2017 Euro. From the start of Scarlet Marissa's new residence next to the Dr. Pepper can, an unidentified robot above proved to be an annoying neighbor who repeatedly invaded the Star of Lost Word. The robot's builders, known only after our place by a commonality of our place MBG in their account names, had moved after defeat at the hands of various groups near the Connor 6 Froggy emote of streamer Connor Eats Pants. They now sought to establish themselves on top of Scarlet Marissa. Every time, the Brigade easily pushed the robot back, but the hijackers eventually tired of the robot's antics. In the last official project by the Touhou Our Place server in Our Place 2022, the Hijack Brigade swept the robot away by building a simple power block over it. Although the destruction of the robot was the last official action made by the Touhou Our Place server, one final piece of Touhou art snuck in just before the canvas closed. Twitter users Yer and Sapola organized their friends to build the world's smallest Rumia, a miniature version of Rumia, the yokai at the dusk, right up the PCB trio and on top of the mango beer bottle. A minute after Yer's victory tweet, the only color that could be placed on the canvas was a snowy white. The map began to slowly be absorbed by the anti-void. Panicked and unsure about what was happening, coordinators called off the bots. It only took a little time for people to realize what had occurred. Our place was over. 4 long days had come and gone, and now the members of the Touhou Hijack Brigade in 2022 could find their well-earned rest. Users gathered together in the voice channel to watch the whites settle on their hard work. Some called for the destruction of their enemies.
This is the chance to wipe out the fucking football team which fucked with us earlier.
Yeah! Wipe us.
Others sang in a beautiful cacophony.
It's okay.
I know.
Tumbling down, tumbling down, tumbling down.
And then followed their ballad with a reading of the copy pasta. But most rejoiced in victory, shouting their names into the pages of history as the hijackers realized that they were finally free.
So free. It says free.
It says free.
Yes, we're free! We don't need to worry about this anymore. This shit, all this. It means nothing!
All the evidence of the past days, the friends, the enemies, the heroes, the villains, the conquests, the battles, and all that had unfolded slowly faded away in a scene more beautiful than any sunset, until nothing remained but memories. Hijackers joked that the canvas was becoming a frame from the monochrome Bad Apple, giving Touhou the ultimate victory. The @notification role that had been given to all members of the Brigade was converted to the Touhou Hijack OG role, a medal of honor for participating in the event.
Boom, everyone is cool now. You specific 1 out of 1,547 person, you are special.
The hijackers said their goodbyes and watched as the Our Place channels were archived one by one. The Touhou Our Place Hijack of 2022 was finished.
I was here.
Our Place is a snapshot of the internet, and the canvas, including all its changes, can be used to look at how the internet was during April 2022. One of Touhou's biggest strengths is its underground cultural influence on the internet. Even if you've never heard of Touhou, chances are that if you use the internet a bunch, you've seen something that can be traced back to the series, or something that straight up has Touhou content in it. These events are called Touhou Hijacks, hence the Touhou Our Place Hijack. This sprawling, scattered empire is quite fitting for a series which has such far-flung influence. Although there were some setbacks, the Touhou Our Place Hijack of 2022 was overall a roaring success. The Brigade performed widely beyond the initial expectation of a tiny banner next to Osu with a total of 10 different surviving artworks, including independent projects endorsed by the Brigade. Some artworks had fallen, but Touhou as a whole stood strong in the glorious frozen face of the final Our Place 2022 canvas. One side note. In all the fun of pixel placing, I know we can definitely get carried away, but it's important to remember that no matter what romantic, heart-wrenching terms we describe it in, it's ultimately just the
funny Reddit pixel event. And yes, there may be some who act in bad faith, but it's just a social experiment. Let's save that energy for more important things. Or what I'm trying to say is no death threats. After our place, this server became a retirement home of sorts for veterans of the Hijack Brigade. The 2027 preparation channel is named jokingly in anticipation of the predicted 2027 Our Place event due to the 5-year gap between the 2022 event and the original 2017 Our Place event, hosted in an interesting community. It would have more incidents, events, chaos, and disorder that I am not qualified to comment on, not to mention actual preparation for the predicted 2027 Our Place, with new plot brewing in the dedicated channel. As for that, it's a story for another time. If you don't know much about Touhou, I'd encourage you to check it out. I have a document in the description made by my editor, Timur Glaskov, that lists some suggestions. Most of the games are available on Steam. If bullet hells aren't your cup of tea, you can check out the fighting spin-off games or the plethora of fan games of many genres. Rhythm games, puzzle games, RPGs, Metroidvanias, you name a genre and there's probably a Touhou fan game of it. You can also listen to the music, both official and fan-made. The official soundtracks are available on Spotify and can also be found on YouTube. Fan-made tracks, like famous Bad Apple, can be found in a variety of locations, Spotify and YouTube included. And of course, you may peruse the large variety of miscellaneous fan content on YouTube and the internet in general. Have fun exploring! This documentary is accompanied by a timeline document featuring a detailed timestamp list of events in about the same order that they were presented in this video. It will be linked in the description. Now, the timeline originally contained links to messages within the Discord server to allow you to scroll around and read the messages related to the event, but the server got nuked, so that's not going to work. However, thanks to the foresight of Timur Glaskov, the chat logs have been backed up, although most images will unfortunately not show up and all threads are completely gone. Simply go to the Google Drive linked in the description, download the HTML files, and open them with your preferred web browser. There are still working links to messages in servers other than Touhou Our Place within the timeline, mainly in the diplomacy sections. These will be denoted with the server they belong to and a screenshot of their contents. I am truly sorry that I could not provide the ease of access that direct links to Discord messages would. But well, I hope that you will all be able to forgive me and that you can all make do with the resources that survived. Though the archives in the Touhou Our Place Discord server were destroyed, a link to the Discord will still be provided. Feel free to join. I'll be there to answer any questions, just ask in the archival division thread. And who knows, maybe we'll see you in 2027. I'd like to thank Megafrog, HyperCecil101, and Wah for managing the document during Our Place and organizing the user-submitted information that I use as a jumping-off point for my research. Their assistance in the deluge of words was a great help. And finally, I'd like to give my deepest thanks to the Editor-in-Chief, Timur Glaskov, for his tireless work on this project. Among other things, he's documented the signature list of the Brigade, made the timeline presentable, and reviewed this giant ramble of words, which I deeply appreciate. Also, he backed up the Art Place chat, so he's the reason why you're watching a video and not a glorified podcast. So thank you, Timur. It was a pleasure to work with you. And that is all I had to say about Touhou Our Place 2022. Thank you for watching.